talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With the headlines at 1 minute past 10, I'm Tom Clayton. Good morning. And in the last few minutes, it's just been reported that Ruben Amorim has been sacked as the Manchester United boss. It's our understanding that his position was in the balance after his relationship with the director of football, Jason Wilcox, fractured, and yesterday's fiery rant against the club's directors. The former assistant at Old Trafford, Rennie Mullenstein, says there's a real frustration bubbling below the surface.
He came across a little bit agitated, not happy about certain things, whereas managers who are happy in their situations, they come always out speaking very, very calmly.
Speaking of managers on the move, what is Liam Rossini getting himself into at Chelsea? He's landed in London. As we understand, he's set for the Chelsea job. talkSPORT's Alan Pardew has given him this warning.
And he's going into a real kind of, well, I wouldn't call it an asylum, but it's a very, very difficult place to manage.
We understand he'll be in charge for the Fulham game on Wednesday. Remember, all the midweek Premier League fixtures are live across the talkSPORT network. And Joe Root may be targeting staying with England until the next Ashes series in Australia in 4 years' time. That's according to double Ashes winner Steve Harmison. Root hit 160 runs in England's first innings in the final test, during which they were bowled out 384. In response, Australia ended day 2 166 for 2. Harmy's questioned what Root's motivation may be.
Once he goes past Sachin, he's the greatest of all time when it comes to the run scoring point of view. And then, you know, we talk about the tip of the mountain, and when you get there, and where else do you go from there? Possibly that 2029 Ashes.
A busy day 2 on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Just a reminder of that breaking news this hour. It's a busy day on talkSPORT because it's understood that Ruben Amorim has been sacked as the Manchester United manager. More next.
talkSPORT News.
Hundreds of schools across England, Scotland and Wales are closed as snow and ice warnings hit much of the UK. And the Foreign Secretary will set out the government's response to the US capture of the Venezuelan president later in the Commons. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with witth, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Many places will stay dry with sunshine. Snow showers will continue across parts of Scotland and some coastal counties. Very cold with a bit of wind chill at times.
Good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock this Monday morning, Monday, January the 5th. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Of course, as always, coming to you live on your TV as well. Even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch this show, you can watch it live. And we are back with a bang. 10 o'clock in the morning, and in the last few moments it's been reported that Ruben Amorim has been sacked as head coach at Manchester United. He's been informed, of course, of the decision and it's being reported with immediate effect after 14 months following a breakdown in relations between himself and the hierarchy at the football club. Ruben Amorim sacked at Manchester United. Simon, what's your immediate reaction to that? And before I go any further, good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. I actually listened to Amorim yesterday, and I thought to myself, in conjunction with listening to Maresco, I didn't think that what Amorim said was that particularly controversial. I mean, he was making a point about what role he felt he had to inhabit, but asking people to do their jobs is not the same as telling people that ultimately he's had the worst 48 hours of his life and hasn't been supported. So I looked at it and thought, deeply unprofessional, which is what these managers seem to exhibit too often these days.
You thought Amorim was being deeply unprofessional?
Yeah, I thought Maresca was unprofessional. I think the idea that you can communicate to your people that you work for through the media, I think is unprofessional. You wouldn't want your players going out and saying something dreadful about you as a manager. So why would you expect a manager to be able to say something to the hierarchy, the real power in the room, and expect to get away with it? But when I listened to it, I thought, where are you going with this? What's your point here?
Yeah.
And what are you trying to achieve? And I'm assuming what he was trying to achieve was to get fired and get paid. I'm assuming that's what his outcome was.
You were assuming that he was all out to get the result that he's got this morning, the sack.
Well, I can't see any other way. If you look at the language that he used, he said, "I'll be here for another 18 months as agreed, and then we'll go our separate ways unless something changes." And so here it has happened. It's changed. I mean, the thing is, what was the point of Ruben Amorim? What was the point of this experience? You've had 14 months of him saying rather absurd things and then seemingly get himself together, a team that's seemingly inch by inch, yard by yard, getting slightly better, and then boom, he turns it upside down.
Martin, good morning to you. We're going to get Martin Keown's reaction in a second, but just to remind you, after the 1-1 draw with Leeds United, Manchester United drawing, of course, with Leeds, Amorim was asked whether he still feels he has the backing of the club's board.
Stop with that, and I noticed that you receive selective information about everything. I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. And that is clear. I know that my name is not Tuchel, is not Conte, is not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United. And it's going to be like this for 18 months, or when the board decided to change. So that was my point. I want to finish with that. I'm not going to quit. I will do my job until other guy is coming here to replace me. I just want to say that I'm going to be the manager of this team, not just the coach. And I was really clear on that. And that is going to finish in 18 months. And then everyone is going to move on. That was the deal. That is my job, not to be a coach. If people cannot handle the Gary Nevilles and the criticisms of everything, we need to change the club. No, guys, I just want to say that I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
That was Amorim saying, I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. To me, he was talking about power, control, authority, and he wanted all of those things. This morning, he's been sacked. Martin Keown, what's your reaction to it?
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. This is a manager who was fixated with playing a particular way, Jim, in a system. He wanted to play a back three. He recently said, didn't he, that I'm starting to get the feeling that I need to play a perfect 3-4-3. We need to spend a lot of money and need time. I'm starting to understand that it's not going to happen. He became increasingly vocal towards the director of football, and when it's becoming so public as it was, you thought that it was on borrowed time. And you look back, I don't think you can have any complaints, Jim, because of the record, the number of games. I know there's 6 in the table, but they have not convinced me at all. And his failure to adapt in terms of his system, he's almost obsessed. We have the same thing in Celtic, by the way. A manager up there who wants to play one particular way is cost him his job.
Yeah. Simon, you were right on it weeks ago, and you were the first one to say it when Maresca said what he said. And I looked at you in this very studio and I said to you, do you think it's over for Maresca? And you said, yeah, it's over. It was to be over for Maresca. He's gone and maybe Liam Senior will succeed him. Did you think there was an inevitability about this? That Amorim had talked himself into his own dismissal?
Well, not necessarily, because I felt that he was focusing his guns on someone like the sporting director rather than Maresca, that seemed to be taking everybody down. And my understanding of the Maresca situation is very different to the situation of Amorim. I don't think Maresca got fired. I think he resigned, and I think he's now ruining that decision because maybe he's got to find his way back some compensation. That's a different discussion. But the fact is that I listened to a man that over the last 12 months doesn't seem to have made a lot of sense at times. Talked about his age, talked about the worst Man United team that's ever been historically produced, and so on and so forth. And yet we had Jim Ratcliffe come out and talk about the fact that this is the manager, this is the person that we want to be detailing our football club for the next 3 years. Now, I don't know what he's referring to when he says that I was brought here to be the manager, because if you were brought here to be the manager, you'd be called the manager rather than the coach. And in this day and age, what does a manager really mean? Does it mean that a manager should be involved in the buying and selling of players? Because that ship has sailed.
Does it suggest broken promises?
Well, that's the inference that you draw from it, but I don't believe that can be the case, because I've always been of the mindset that ultimately you understand your position. Maresca must have understood his position when he was taken out of Leicester and given an opportunity at Chelsea, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So he must have understood the brief.
Yeah.
And same thing with Amorim. So now he's sort of alluding to the fact that he was told he was going to be a manager. And but no one, I don't know how that press conference went on, but did anyone ask the difference between what he's doing and what he considers to be management?
Well, just to be clear, until his dismissal in the last 10, 15 minutes, his title at Manchester United is head coach, Martin.
Yeah, and he's obviously fighting a losing battle. Maybe he's been given the wrong direction at the beginning when he took the job. You can't say he hasn't been supported, Jim. I mean, there's £210 million worth of players that they've tried to bring in.
Yeah.
But recently he's played it. I mean, I watched some of the recent games, and I can't believe some of the positions they're taking up defensively. And you start to question. I mean, you might say he said too much, and these indiscretions have cost him his job, but I think it's more linked to the results, Jim. He hasn't been able to perform well enough on the pitch.
If you just tuned in, good morning. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. Glad to be back, and we're back with a bang. In the last few minutes, in the last few seconds, in fact, and I'm just spotting this now, Manchester United have confirmed it. Ruben Amorim has departed his role as head coach of Manchester United. They go on to say Ruben was appointed in November 2024. With Manchester United sitting sixth in the Premier League today, the club's leadership has reluctantly made the decision that this is the right time to make a change. This will give the team the best opportunity of the highest possible Premier League finish. The club would like to thank Ruben for his contribution to the club and wishes him well for the future. But to you, me and anybody else, after 14 months in the job, Ruben Amorim has just been sacked. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook joins us live. Alex, good morning. Happy New Year. What do you make of this?
Good morning. Welcome back. You picked a good day to make your return to the airwaves, didn't you? What do I make of it? I'm not surprised, Jim. Myself and Ben Jacobs were reporting very late last night that Ruben Amorim's future was in the balance after those comments that he made after the 1-1 draw at Ellen Road. We were reporting yesterday afternoon of major tension between Ruben Amorim and the hierarchy, in particular the director of football, Jason Wilcox, and the newly installed head of recruitment, Christopher Vivell. And I think, as we've seen with Enzo Maresca, and I do think this bears hallmarks of what happened at Chelsea, when a manager goes to war with his paymasters, there is only one winner. And particularly when you're talking about a manager who's been in charge for 14 months. He's had more than 60 games. He's won less than half those games. He's lost a Europa League final in Bilbao. He's been dumped out the League Cup by Grimsby. And yes, the league position suggests that Manchester United are making significant progress. But I agree with Martin. He has been backed in the transfer market. He was allowed to spend a lot of money on the likes of Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo and Benjamin Šeško, who's yet to fire in the summer. And I would suggest the performances week in, week out are still not where they should be. You look at Everton at home against 10 men at Old Trafford when they were beaten. You look at West Ham, who are really struggling. Even under Nuno, they couldn't beat them at home. Yes, they scored 4 goals against Bournemouth, still didn't win the game, and Bournemouth can't buy a win for love nor money at this moment in time. And they managed to draw at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, who probably will go down as the worst team in Premier League history. So if you're a detractor of Ruben Amorim, then I think the case is there. The flip side, have the hierarchy made the right call in the first place? Should Ruben Amorim, with this system that really doesn't work at the top level in the Premier League, ever have been given the job in the first place? I think that's the question that Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada should be asking them.
Forgive me, my mind is racing here, but I wonder if I'm going to add 1 and 1 and make 3 or make 2. Is there anything in your reading of the fact that Maresca is suddenly available and Amorim is sacked?
Do you know what, Jim? I think you may be onto something, because there is that connection between Jason Wilcox, Director of Football, Omar Barada, Chief Executive, and Enzo Maresca from his time at Manchester City. And you have to wonder, Ruben Amorim, he's always very honest in press conferences, but he usually manages to keep a lid on things and be quite cool and calm and collected.
Yeah.
Why has he suddenly lost his mind in this way? Not just post-match, but actually laid the foundations with what he was saying pre-match about not being supported in this upcoming transfer window. Could it be because he had suspicions, maybe, that talks have already taken place with a potential replacement, and maybe that potential replacement could be Enzo Maresca.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. Stay by your phone. No doubt we'll be rejoining you. But just as we came on air, top journalist David Ornstein broke the story that Manchester United had sacked Ruben Amorim as head coach. He was informed of the decision and now goes with immediate effect after 14 months following breakdown in relations. Darren Fletcher expected to take over in the meantime. So, Manchester United fans, what on earth do you make of this at your club? What is your take on the fact that Amorim, who said, no, I'm not the head coach, I am the manager, and I need to be recognised as such in that role? What is your take now on the fact that Amorim is now no longer at your club? And Maresca's free. Would you want him to succeed? Amorim, 03717 223344. Let's get it going. Let's hear from you this morning alongside Simon, myself and Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT. We are just back after the Christmas and New Year layoff. It is Monday, January the 5th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are back with a seismic story because just as we came on air at 10 o'clock, top journalist David Ornstein broke the story that Ruben Amorim has been sacked at Manchester United. He has now gone. He lasted 14 months in the job and, of course, over the weekend was making a bunch of points, not least that he wanted to be recognised as the manager at the football club and not the head coach. Now he's gone, sacked this morning. Who's next? Is there anything to be read into the fact that Enzo Maresca is now out of Chelsea and available? We're pursuing that, of course, as we speak. Simon alongside me. Simon, what's your take on that Maresca suddenly is available? Do you see there's a link there? Or is it just pure coincidence?
Listen, I'd be surprised if there were. I mean, Maresca behaved like an unprofessional child in terms of his ability to communicate in a press conference, open up a can of whoop-ass on himself and then recede back into that can because he didn't want to answer the questions there on after that, who he was referring to, gets himself out of a job, one way or t'other, resigns, my understanding, and then tries to find a way to get some money out of the situation. Look, is that
understanding was he resigned?
Yeah, is that the reality? Is that the reality of what Man United's next manager looks like? I mean, Man United once upon and this is not me becoming Johnny become lately. I said from the outset, Ruben Amorim was the guy that doorstepped West Ham for a job, and ultimately tried to get himself into English football by knocking on everyone's door.
Who would you suggest, Simon, that Manchester United go for then?
Emery.
Emery.
Emery's a Man United manager. He's the best, one of the best in class.
Emery's in a job doing great things with Aston Villa.
So Man United are one of the biggest clubs in the world.
So what are you saying to me? If you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe this morning, without a doubt, the man you go for is Unai Emery.
Absolutely.
God, Villa fans are going to love that.
Sorry, Villa fans.
Yeah, I think one of your former clubs, Martin.
I think Emery, though, is doing an amazing job, isn't he, right now?
He is.
What is it, 10 wins from the last 12 or 10 from the last 11?
Until they come up against your side and reality came knocking on his door.
Yeah, but they steadied the ship, didn't they? Nicely.
He's done brilliantly.
Yeah, since then.
He's a brilliant manager. That's why I'm saying Man United get a manager like him who's a statesman, who can build, who knows how to manage properly and doesn't do what these children managers do every time they don't get what they want, which is scream in front of the media.
Yeah. Ruben Amorim has gone after 18 months in the job. But if you're just tuning in this morning, that is the seismic news that we are giving you this morning. Ruben Amorim, who said a bunch of things over the weekend, well, it appears it's cost him dearly because he's been sacked at Manchester United. So many United fans trying to join us. I'm going to pick a couple in the way here now. James, good morning. Big United fan. Amorim gone. What's your take on it? James, good morning. You got us?
Hello. Yes. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. We're doing this at pace, James. What's your take on it?
I'm more bothered about what the board are doing, to be honest. What are they doing? I think Jason Wilcox needs to get out the door with him, to be truthfully honest with you, because it's an absolute disgrace. Why have a manager who's so hell-bent on a 3-4-3 and has had success before he even joined us with a 3-4-3, and then not buy the players to suit the 3-4-3, and then make improvements from last season, because that was a disaster, and then make more improvements, push for top four, and then as we are literally on the cusp of getting top four at the minute, then sack him and bring in an interim manager, and then you're saying Enzo Maresca, but what, apart from like the Club World Cup, what has he actually done? Because he's just fallen out for the exact same reason at Chelsea. It's an absolute farce, and good luck to whatever manager comes through that door, because Ineos are a bunch of clowns.
Well, James, what were you seeing in Amorim that was giving you confidence in him in the long term?
It was more for the fact that if he was to persist with us, it was more on the basis that we do play decent football. We've had 8 major players. Obviously, AFCON has come at a wrong time for us, but we've got players that are injured. We haven't been fully backed to buy the players for his system. We've bought 3 players in Mbeumo, Sesko and Cunha who have instantly come in and improved our attack. Martin Keown was sat there every single day last year saying, "Oh, Man United are toothless. We've got Garnacho, we've got Xerxes, we've got Højlund, who the ball bounces off him like he's a wrestler, not a footballer." And we've got all these players coming in, and they've started. We instantly look better in attack, and we're at the highest XG.
James, many points to discuss there. Thanks for your call. Lee's another United fan. Lee, good morning. Amorim's gone, sacked. What's your take on it?
Lunatics are running the asylum. Absolute joke. Just giving Martin Keown the best New Year's present ever. He'll be dining out on this for ages. Unbelievable. I'm not Amarin's biggest fan. I've watched them all season, but I've seen us going in the right direction. And as the previous caller just said, we're in 6th position and they decide to sack him. Jason Wilcox. Who the hell is Jason Wilcox? He was a crap football player and he's never done anything. Berardi, we've got City's sloppy seconds management team in there. Ineos is a joke. And I guarantee you Maresco will be coming in because it's a boys' club in there. Absolute flip-flop Starmer. This is flip-flop United. Absolutely.
Lee, just a minute. Lee, you talk about this manager's doing well. You honestly believe in a calendar year where they'd be 5th? Would they be 5th in the Premier League, looking on wins that he's had?
It's about where you are. You know, look at Leeds, who they've drawn against. We had 8 of our players, our best players, out, and we drew against them, and we actually played well, barring one small mistake. So don't sit there, Mr. Keown, and say that we're no good. You want us to just keep changing managers. You hate United. You always have. As I said on the previous call, you are to partiality what Ronnie Corbett is to basketball.
No, I want Lee. I want success. I want success for the clubs that I've played for. Yeah, I don't get any joy in watching the demise of Manchester United.
Lee, you've just made our day.
Yes, you do. Yes,
no, not at all. Not at all. I've tried to let go of this Arsenal, Manchester United. I don't see Man United in the picture right now. How they're 6th place in the table is a bigger mystery to me, to be honest with you.
You never want us to be. You just want us to keep changing managers. I've been.
So it's my fault. It's all my fault, yeah?
Of course it is.
No, it's not your fault.
Lee, before you leave us, a name. Who do you want to see succeed Amarim?
Who do you want?
Emery, if we could get him.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All of a sudden, it became a bit of a tete-a-tete between Martin and Lee, the Manchester United fan. Simon, the dust is settling on this, and we're barely half an hour into the show. You can see the volume of the calls that are coming in. The board is coming in for it here. Ineos are in the firing line here. Yeah. So, Jim, and we'll find the audio in a second. Only back in October.
He must be having fun, mustn't he, Jim? He's enjoyed his experience at United. He's come in there. He's been the punch ball for Glazers, inserted himself into a position where he's now being vilified. He's not the controlling influence of Man United. The Glazers are. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, but when he came in, Simon, he was looked upon as something of the White Knight.
Well, of course. And
thank God we're not going to hear from the Glazers. We'll hear from.
And how wonderful for him now that he's now the polar opposite of that, and he's inherited the role of the punch bag. You know, you wanted to take the hits for the Glazers. You're now taking them. Jason Wilcox didn't make the decision. A very experienced operator that was the chief executive or a significant board member at Manchester City made the decision. So he was attributed with significant success as being part of the Manchester City team. He's now an idiot at Manchester United. Or maybe somewhere in the middle, there is a complete disconnect. The manager isn't pulling up trees. He was given, I mean, by the way, when Alex talks about his spend, yeah, he did get given 200 million quid. But there were 5 teams above him that got given more. So if you're trying to bridge the gap in the league, you've at least got to go pound for pound with the teams that you're trying to compete with.
But Simon, after 14 months in the job, Amarim this morning is sacked.
Yeah.
How did they look in this whole, I was about to say fiasco. Yeah, it is a fiasco.
Well, it depends. It depends if you define what you do by the optics of a moment.
How does the board look?
Well, I think the board looks like it's in a situation where a manager brought something upon himself and they had no choice but to get rid of him. Because if they believe that there is an emphatic disconnect between him and the management team they put into place, which also includes the fella Barada from Manchester City that I just talked about, that's supposed to be football expertise up the yin-yang. So this is a guy that was very successful at Manchester City, brought into Manchester United, and is now an idiot, according to fans, because a manager that has said the most ridiculous things over the last 14 months, who was lucky to get a job in the first place, who doorstop lesser clubs like West Ham to do photo opportunities for himself to get a job 15 months before, suddenly arrived at Manchester United, has been supported, and has now had a turn. For whatever reason, it's deeply unprofessional. However you look at it, I don't know why there is this passage and rite of passage in football, like no other industry, where everyone seems to believe that someone that hasn't actually done anything should be lionised because that's the football orthodox.
An enormous number of calls coming in from Manchester United fans. We'll try and get a few more of you on the other side of the 10:30 bulletin. 03717 223344. In the last half an hour, Ruben Amorim has been sacked as head coach of Manchester United. He was informed of the decision, presumably this morning, goes with immediate effect after 14 months following a breakdown in relations. The other side of the break, we'll hear from more United fans, and we'll hear from the journalist, top journalist, David Ornstein, who broke the story. The top and bottom of it all is Amorim has gone at United.
The kit man, one of the most important cogs in a football club's machine. But it's not just laundry and hanging up shirts in dressing rooms. Oh no, it's hours of dedication and a real love of the game. Every club does it slightly differently, but ultimately the kit man's the guy washing the training gear, repairing holes, cleaning boots, and that's before they even think about the match day. The day before a home game, a kit man will already be at the stadium making sure the kit is ready to be laid out, and if anything needs doing in terms of printing, stitching, cleaning, it gets done. On the day, the kit men are almost the first ones there in the morning. They're unloading kit from the training ground, medical bags, anything else a player or a coach may need between their arrival and full time. Once things are in full swing, they actually help with the warm-up too. When the whistle goes and the match kicks off, it's the one time a kit man can put his feet up. At full time, if they're at home, it's easy. All the kit goes in the washing machines, dries and is ready for use within the next 24 hours. Away from home, it's a different story though. If you're a kit man for Spurs, for example, you can't exactly use the machines at St James's Park. So it's back into the van, or onto the chartered flight, back to the training ground, wash everything there, and be ready to go again for the next game. Some might have to go to Europe a day later, so the pressure is definitely on. Working for a football club might look glamorous on the face of it, but we salute those who dedicate their lives to scraping mud off boots and washing a millionaire's underpants.
Good morning, everybody. What a start to the new year for us. Good morning. Monday, January the 5th. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown were live on talkSPORT. It's great to be back, and we're back with a bang, because this morning in the last 40 minutes or so, Ruben Amorim was given the news that he'd lost his job, sacked at Manchester United. In a moment, we're going to speak live to the man who broke the story, football correspondent at The Athletic, David Ornstein. But it was only back in October when Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the founder of Ineos, of course, and minority owner of Manchester United, it was only back in October when Sir Jim made these comments around the debate about Amorim at United.
We have to be patient. And, you know, we have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch. And, you know, you can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one, you know, every week. Sorry.
So Amorim gets at least the rest of the season then?
Amorim, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean,
that's not the same thing. He's a good guy. It's not the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Ruben, he needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years?
Yeah, that's where I would be. Yeah, 3 years, because it's not football's not overnight.
No, and as you say, the Alex Ferguson example is exactly that, isn't it?
And you look at Arteta at Arsenal. You know, he had a miserable time for the first couple of years. You know. Yeah.
That was Sir Jim Ratcliffe on that occasion speaking to The Times. That was back in October. And now, just a very few months on, Ruben Amorim, the man who was saying needs 3 years to show us what he can do, Ruben Amorim has been sacked this morning. The journalist who broke the story is the football correspondent of The Athletics, David Ornstein. And David Ornstein joins Simon, myself and Martin Keown live in the show this morning. David, congratulations to you. What a story to get. I believe you've had something of a sleepless night, have you?
They all are at this time of the year, Jim. But I think the writing was really on the wall after those comments post-Leeds yesterday, maybe even following the Friday news conference that Ruben Amorim gave. And the reports were building, including at talkSPORT and elsewhere. And this was kind of the confirmation that many people were expecting at some point, maybe not on the first day back to work in the new year. But it's a bit of a bombshell. And that's now 10 managerial changes, I think, including interim, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013. And so many bones to pick out of it on and off the pitch. But Manchester United now going to go forward on an interim basis with Darren Fletcher, and then they'll have to make a permanent appointment, we think maybe most likely in the summer.
In the summer? So you think that Fletcher could be there certainly from now until the end of the season? There's a chance of that?
Yeah, there's a chance of it, of course. He'll take over for the Burnley game that's coming up, and then they'll see from there. Of course, they'll have a process that may go faster, may go slower, but there'll be many more managers available, coaches on the market in the summer when contracts expire, when the World Cup has ended, and that market isn't really there at the moment. So perhaps there are some options that they look at, and loads of conversations will take place, and they've got some time to do it clearly. But when we've been in these positions before, it tends to be that when you've got a capable interim, and certainly I think Fletcher would be regarded as that, he's a good coach and he's well respected at United, he knows the club inside out, then perhaps the summer is just the most sensible thing to do. I don't think it's a hard and fast thing, but that's the sort of word I'm getting this morning.
David, as you know, after the 1-1 draw with Leeds, Amorim was saying, I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. And I noticed that in the wording you've used here this morning, United have sacked Ruben Amorim as head coach. I mean, this has all unravelled very quickly, hasn't it?
Well, that was the title, Jim, that they appointed him to. Yeah. So I think people were taken a little bit by surprise for many reasons when he spoke out yesterday, but certainly on that point. And I guess what Amorim was referring to was that he regarded himself as being the manager. And maybe that relates back to the conversations he had when he took over, when Man United and Omar Barada, the chief executive, came for him in Lisbon when he was sporting coach in the middle of a season when he wasn't planning to leave, and he wanted to wait until the summer, but Manchester United sped it up, and at great expense. They paid a lot of money to get him out, and that would have gained him some power, control, authority, and I suspect so in the termination negotiations as well, in terms of what they have to pay him out now, because he was in a position of strength last November when they came for him, and I think at that stage he would have been saying, I want a lot of control over this, whether it be a strong voice within recruitment, obviously in all team matters, and his predecessor, Erik ten Hag, was called the manager. And although, yes, it is head coach, clearly there was some friction behind the scenes over exactly the delineation of roles.
But David,
Jason Wilcox,
that doesn't make any sense, David, though. If you're on one hand saying that he's in a position of strength from the outset, that he was sought after by Man United, they wanted him and they wanted him now, and they're going to pay a lot of money out, he would have been in a position at that point to say, what I want is to be called the manager.
Yeah, that's a fair point. This is a 39-year-old who still was at a relatively early stage of his career, getting a job that, by his own admission, was the only one he would have left Sporting Lisbon for, Manchester United. And so we don't know the exact ins and outs of conversations on terminology and semantics at that moment. You raise a good point with hindsight, and clearly that's been a bone of contention for him now. He hasn't hinted at it previously in terms of the exact title. And there's no doubt that the nature of yesterday's outburst would have gone down terribly at Old Trafford. And so there is a lot more. I mean, much of what we're talking about now, or will be in the coming hours and days, is speculative. We don't know exactly what has gone on behind the scenes here between Amorim and Jason Wilcox, the sporting director, between Amorim and Omar Barada, the chief executive, who went to such lengths to hire him, between Amorim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe as co-owner. Now, the word coming out of Old Trafford is that it was a sort of football leadership decision that was backed by the board, as opposed to a Jim Ratcliffe decision. So there will be a lot of protection going on here, and I think it's going to take some time to really understand what's happened. But yeah, when you quite rightly point out that if he had power at the start, which he clearly did, then he could have ironed out the title at that point. But I think it's easier said now than when he was in that position.
What we do know, David, is we seem to be seeing this more and more, don't we? I was just mentioning it to Simon. I mean, friction at Chelsea between Maresca and the hierarchy. Maresca's now gone. Friction at United between Amorim and the hierarchy. Amorim's now gone. I mean, you have to wonder who's next. Are we seeing a pattern here developing?
There are parallels. It's not quite the same as the Maresca situation, and I and others reported that there was conversations between Maresca and potential suitors, Manchester City. Others have said Juventus. There was talk of him being ready to sign a new contract, but Chelsea not opening talks around that. That was not the case with Manchester United. Ruben Amorim was under contract until 2027, and we weren't hearing those sort of things. But yeah, in terms of speaking out publicly, it seems to end in one way. There's a lot of conversation in these matters now about who really holds the control, where your influence extends to, because there's been a lot of chatter around, and Ruben Amorim tapped into it on Friday when he talked about the transfer market and not being able to do anything. United sort of letting it be known today that the January window was not one of the main bones of contention. So a bit of mudslinging potentially going on here, and you have different models. So somewhere like Aston Villa, where Unai Emery has a lot of control and influence in the market. Arsenal with Mikel Arteta, and I think Jim Ratcliffe said there in the interview you played that they're looking at clubs like Arsenal and how they rebuilt, but they rebuilt in a very different way, and they really did hand the keys to Mikel Arteta, and that seems to have been vindicated so far in a way that perhaps you could say they weren't willing to do. On the flip side, many people will point out, look how much money Manchester United have given to Ruben Amorim in the market to spend, and you can argue about how it was spent and on what positions and what preference, but the bare facts are that their gross outlay has been extremely high, and the returns last season were extremely low. Yes, it was early, but their worst season since 1974, a 38.1% win percentage. It doesn't reflect particularly well. On the flip side now, 3 points off of fourth place, and they were looking okay. I know recent results haven't been so good. Wolves was particularly bad, Everton too, but what you're saying there, I agree with it. It seems more about the relations between the coach and the hierarchy in these two cases. And it will be interesting to see how things go forward. You know, there seems to be a lot of tension in the fan bases at, say, Tottenham, at Liverpool, at West Ham and elsewhere. And so I think the managerial market, the coaching market, could be about to explode in the summer. And that's not even mentioning what we touched upon earlier, as the World Cup's going to bring some vacancies too.
Yes, absolutely. And David, just to finish with, are we confirming that it was this morning that Amorim got the news that United reluctantly had decided time up?
Yeah, as we understand it at The Athletic, he was spoken to by Barada, the chief executive, and Wilcox, the sporting director, and informed of the news. The players found out as well, and that's when it started to emerge more widely in the industry. And he leaves with immediate effect. We'll wait and see how it pans out in terms of the compensation and his staff, etc. But I think post Leeds and his comments there, that was really the final straw, and the actions have been taken this morning to bring it to an end in quite extraordinary fashion.
David, and you broke the story. Thank you so much for joining us. Football correspondent of The Athletic, David Ornstein. Ruben Amorim sacked at Manchester United. And of course, it's a huge week of Premier League football. On Wednesday, one of a number of games, Burnley against Manchester United, is a talkSPORT exclusive. You can hear live commentary of that one. Burnley, Manchester United on Wednesday, an 8:15 kickoff. Amorim will maybe be back in Portugal because Darren Fletcher will be in the away dugout on that occasion. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live in talkSPORT. Good morning, everybody. What a morning we're having here at talkSPORT. Just as we came on air, the news came through to us that Manchester United had sacked head coach Ruben Amorim. He goes after 14 months in charge following a breakdown in relations with the top brass. He was informed of the decision, is being reported only this morning. Amorim has gone. Who's next for Manchester United? Well, who's next in the short term is former Manchester United player Darren Fletcher. He'll take charge of United when they go to Burnley on Tuesday night. I beg your pardon. That is a match you can hear live commentary at 8:15. It's a talkSPORT exclusive. But Manchester United on Wednesday. I beg your pardon. But Manchester United have sacked Ruben Amorim. We are taking calls at the moment, so many to mention. 03717 223344. Before I do that, Simon, someone sent a message in there. So Amorim is gone, Maresca before him. Does any of this make any sense? I'm going to put that to you. Does it?
Well, I mean, look, talking about David Ornstein, talking about the manager coming in the door, or the head coach, and sought after and demanded by Man United and paid a lot of money. At that point, whether he's 39 years of age or 40 years of age, with an agent, he knows exactly what he wants. If he wanted to be the manager, whatever the hell that means in his mind, right, he would have told him exactly what he wanted. And you roll forward 14 months and you look at anything that he's done and say to yourself, in any other walk of life, would there be a surprise? Somehow or another, Amorim has been curated into a situation where the Man United fans are clinging onto him like some life raft because they loathe Glazers. They now loathe Ineos. Everybody else gets the blame besides the players that go on the field and the manager that produces the side. Now, I'm not trying to just align myself with an ownership model, but I'm looking at it going, Radcliffe, if you look at the interview that Radcliffe did, at the time I said to you, there's no way this guy's going to be there 3 years. That's nonsense what Jim Radcliffe said.
So why did he say it?
Because I think he caught himself in moments. I think he knows who he's talking to. He knows he's talking to the media. And you saw Jim Radcliffe talk about things about Amorim and then catch himself and thought to myself, well, I'll not say that right now. I'll not say this right now. Because if you listen to his interviews in the summer, they got pulled to pieces by people like me who said, well, hang on a second, Jim, you can't turn around and say Man United have got no money because that's absolute nonsense. You can't run and say these sort of things because they don't make any sense. So I think there was a sort of an idealistic approach. No one believed, and least of all me, when Jim Radcliffe said that Ruben Amorim was going to be in situ for 3 years. If the team didn't massively improve, that was a ridiculous statement. And I think he qualified it anyway. Does it make sense? We are lionising managers in the media, and as a result of it, football fans are jumping on supporting football managers. In any other walk of life, in any other business, if you take on a responsibility, get given a lot of money, and a year down the road it's no better, in any other business, you get sacked. In football, the orthodoxy is, well, you need stability. And these managers now are getting ahead of themselves and believe they can say what they want when they want. Maresca went into a press conference and said something absurd. It's so deeply unprofessional that you shouldn't want a manager exhibiting those kind of characteristics, running a football team, being responsible for enormous assets.
I get that, Simon, but Amorim picked up in the fact, as everybody else did in October, oh yeah, Sir Jim is saying there that I'm in the job for the next 3 years. And just a few weeks on, at the weekend there, Amorim, for whatever reason, decides to say, incidentally, I want to be recognised here as a manager and not the head coach.
Well, this is a conversation.
And this morning he's sacked.
But this is probably a mission creep. Now, I'll keep referring back to Maresca. Do you believe that a manager that was lifted out of Leicester, a promoted championship side, to one of the biggest jobs in world football, right, wasn't given a brief that he understood? 15 months later, he's rolled forward. All of a sudden, he's read a memo on himself that he's won the World Club Championship, he's won the European Conference, and all of a sudden, he's a manager to be reckoned with. And a few other people are batting eyes at him, so he can say what he wants when he wants. And then all of a sudden...
Does that not come with success?
There has to be a balance between how you do that. You, by all means, you throw your weight around in front of people in terms of the management that you're working alongside. In private, you say, well, I've earned the right to be pushing the envelope a little bit. I've earned the right to be supportive. I'll be supported. What you don't do is you don't take it into the public domain.
Yeah, but if you're not getting the right response that you want in private, you take it into the public domain. And Amorim has done just that, and it's cost him his job.
But Jim, when you're the manager of Manchester United, aren't you? It comes with a set of responsibilities, and you toe the company line. The minute you go the other direction, you're on
borrowed time.
Borrowed time, and that's what's happened.
But if you feel Simon, you've had promises made to you that have been broken in your eyes.
But that's a supposition. If ultimately,
why else would you do it?
Well, because managers do what they want. They are a highly emotional breed. They're highly charged. They're now infused with the idea that there's a second coming, and they can say what they want inside the media. And two managers, one of them, I think, probably more so than the other, is reaping the whirlwind. I think I looked at Amorim's comments, and I was less irritated about Amarim's comments than I was about Maresca's. I thought Maresca's comments were absurd. I thought they were ridiculously, childishly unprofessional.
I think as well, he's tried to manage. He wanted this perfect world, which was not there at Manchester United, where this system that he just wanted to play with. And look, it's a poor vocabulary of his tactical nous. He should have been able to adapt with the players he had, got better results. This has been 23 defeats. 25 victories, 40% success rate.
I think it's
really
only right, Martin. We finished this hour by hearing from a couple more United fans very briefly. Ryan, good morning. Keep it brief, mate. Amarim's gone. What's your take on it? Good morning, Ryan. Yeah, good morning, Ryan. What's your reaction?
Yeah, basically, I knew it was going to happen, obviously, because of the press conference. You know, you could see it. The right was on the wall, but it is going to be interesting if we can get somebody else in here who's going to have a more stable formation that suits the players that we have, rather than trying to fit square pegs in the round holes type of thing. Because
did you think it was almost inevitable, Ryan, that it was going to get sacked?
Yeah, no, 100%. After that press conference, even his body language, you know, it's just the right was on the cards there, definitely, and the results haven't been up to scratch. And even the results we have been getting, they've been lucky as well. We've scraped a few wins, the last minute goals and whatnot. We haven't been playing well at all.
Ryan, thank you for that. Tony, do you think it was the right decision? Good morning to you.
It was maybe the right decision, but it's what had to be said. Rangnick said it. He said needs heart open surgery. Back they got room and Amarim in. They know he ways he plays. They wanted the players.
Yeah.
They didn't give him the players. That's why midfield, Bruno in midfield, it doesn't work. Casemiro doesn't work. They need, and I tell you, I've been supporting Man United for 60 years. 60 years. I am stopped going now to United. We need a clear out. What the Glazers out. We want Ratcliffe is a snake in the grass. Run him out. And they haven't got a clue how to run a football club.
Okay.
Somebody said, these are the players I want. Tony, they don't give it in.
Thank you very much indeed. Sorry to be the bringer of even more bad news to you this morning that Amarim has gone. Simon, you know what ownership's all about. Amarim said hours ago, really, I came here to be the manager of United, not the coach. I'm not going to quit. I will do my job until another guy's coming here to replace me. He was sacked this morning. Would you have sacked him?
I doubt I would have employed him. And I think I've been consistent in that in the first place. But Jim Ratcliffe is now the centre of people's attention. Ineos are now being called clowns. All of these people that really understand how to... I mean, the Edwards family presided over Man United being in situ for 20 years before they got themselves together again, didn't they? Ownership is not an easy situation, and it's easy to call people clowns and tell people how they're not doing their job. What is the solution? The solution is to get competent people in there. Are you telling me that when they employed the one of the leading lights at Man City, people didn't think that was a good appointment?
But Simon, you said you wouldn't have appointed him. Do you start looking at the people who did appoint him?
Of course,
yeah.
In the same way, to use the expression I don't like to use because I just used it. The clown college that I saw presiding over Rangers, and they went because the ownership went. We devolved to you, and you brought in Russell Martin, and you've made it into a car crash. So we've now got rid of the chief executive, who I didn't think was very good. I didn't think was very good. I didn't think the sporting director was very good.
I know.
And now they've got. So the consequences are you have to be looking at them.
When you take a step back this morning, we're just about to hit the 11 o'clock bulletin, but I want to finish on this. When you look at this, these are the same people who employed Dan Ashworth and sacked him.
Yeah, poor, isn't it?
It's poor, isn't it? These are the same people who, when Sir Jim came to the fore, employed Dave Brailsford, and now he's sidelined. Yeah. This morning they've sacked Amarim.
Well, no, you've got to take the person you've got.
There's a pattern here, isn't
there?
there?
Well, there is a pattern there, but also the pattern is that the management that they've said this morning. I think David Ornstein said it, or Alex did, that the decision was a football-related decision supported by the board. Well, it's one and the same thing. If you go to Jim Ratcliffe and say, I'm going to sack the manager, Jim Ratcliffe says yes or no. With respect.
Are we looking at wholesale changes now at Manchester United then, with their power broker team?
Possibly.
They can't keep making the wrong decisions, can they?
Well, can they, Simon? They won't admit to making wrong decisions, but the buck stops with them.
But you're judged by who the people that you appoint. And I mean, the Ashworth situation was a joke. You know what I thought of Dave Brailsford in this space. It's very easy to be able to talk a good game. It's much more difficult to be able to do it. And there's very few good operators. That's why people like Paul Barber at Brighton and people that are really very good at their jobs come to the fore. Yeah. We'll see what Omar Parada looks like now, because he's the person that's responsible for the appointment of these people. He's the guy that's the intellectual capital behind running it for Jim Ratcliffe. Jim Ratcliffe isn't sitting there working out formations. Jim Ratcliffe's got a multinational business to run. He's tipped a bag of money and gone, you guys run it. So now we're seeing what they're really all about.
And we'll see what United are about tomorrow night, because on Wednesday night, 8:15, Burnley against Manchester United. It's a talkSPORT exclusive. Darren Fletcher will be in the away technical area for that one, following the sacking of Ruben Amorim. As if that wasn't enough, who are Chelsea getting? Liam Rosenior, said to be calm but excited at the prospect of him taking over from Maresca. Happy New Year.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines just after 11 o'clock, I'm Tom Clayton. Good morning. As you heard, broken first on talkSPORT, Ruben Amorim has been sacked as the Manchester United manager. The club has posted a statement of just 106 words, which includes, with Manchester United sitting 6th in the Premier League, the club's leadership has reluctantly made the decision that is the right time to make a change. Amorim launched into a spiky rant yesterday after a 1-1 draw at Ellen Road with Leeds, seemingly criticising the Man United hierarchy.
I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
Well, just after the news broke this morning, talkSPORT Simon Jordan questioned Amorim's outburst.
The idea that you can communicate to your people that you work for through the media, I think, is unprofessional. You wouldn't want your players going out and saying something dreadful about you as a manager. So why would you expect a manager to be able to say something to the hierarchy, the real power in the room, and expect to get away with it?
talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook has suggested as soon as Amorim spoke yesterday, things weren't tenable, adding the club's record under him, and this wasn't going to end in his favour.
When a manager goes to war with his paymasters, there is only one winner, And particularly when you're talking about a manager who's been in charge for 14 months, he's had more than 60 games, he's won less than half those games.
So Manchester United are 6th, now managerless, with numerous players away due to AFCON or injury. Darren Fletcher will take charge of the team against Burnley on Wednesday. A match live here on talkSPORT. On the 17th of January, they'll welcome Manchester City to Old Trafford for the second Manchester derby of the season. That's also live on talkSPORT. Get all the fallout to this breaking news on talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
So Keir Starmer insists positive change is on the way in terms of the cost of living, and Venezuela's defense minister has called on the US to return the captured President Nicolas Maduro, who's facing drugs and weapons charges in New York. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. For a limited time only, get 15% off a set of 4 selected premium tyres. Don't miss out and book today at quickfit.com and drive away happy every time. Conditions apply.
Many places will stay dry today with sunshine. Snow showers will continue across parts of Scotland and some coastal counties. Very cold with a bitter wind chill at times.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning, and what a Monday morning. Glad to be back, delighted to be back, because it is all happening. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. As always, of course, we are coming to you live on your TV as well. Samsung, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can do just that, and we're here for you all the way between 10 and 1, live each weekday morning. And of course, the massive breaking news this morning: Ruben Amorim, just before we came on air this morning, sacked by Manchester United. Darren Fletcher, now the man in charge on an interim basis. Shades of Martin O'Neill at Celtic, are there not? Martin O'Neill in Glasgow this morning, but it's a media appointment for Martin this morning. No movement as yet on Wilfried Nancy, who has lost 6 of his 8 games in charge at Celtic, the last of which was the one that you just don't lose if you're Celtic manager, and that was against Rangers at Celtic Park at the weekend by 3-1. So much going on, and we're across the lot. So much going on live this week on talkSPORT. Tomorrow night, West Ham against Nottingham Forest. That's a talkSPORT exclusive. And then amongst many big games, of course, on Wednesday night, we have Everton up against the Wolves. Can Everton turn it round after losing at the weekend there? At home to Brentford, who are going very well under Keith Andrews. Before I forget, it's good morning to Janet and Bernie, big Evertonians who won't be happy with that result. Amongst other big ones on Wednesday, Manchester United against Brighton, Newcastle against Leeds, Manchester United with Darren Fletcher in charge on an interim basis. They're at Burnley. And then on Thursday, Martin Keown, what do you make of that? Arsenal against Liverpool. We shall get to Arsenal in the fullness of time, but we make no apologies for landing on Chelsea at this particular moment as well, because just like Manchester United, Chelsea are in the business of looking for a new manager at the moment. Enzo Maresca has gone. Chelsea went to Manchester City at the weekend and got a 1-1 draw thanks to Enzo Fernandez right at the very end. But Simon, it's expected that Liam Rossignol will be appointed as their new head coach, with further talks being held here in London today. And of course, Rossignol, currently manager of Ligue 1 Strasbourg, who are part, what do you know, of the Blue Co multi-club ownership group that controls Chelsea. So would this be an appointment, Simon, Liam's appointment? Would it be an appointment of ambition or an appointment of convenience, should it come about?
Well, Strasbourg have been complaining about Blue Coat's ownership and believing that Chelsea just used him as some sort of feeder club opportunity for the bigger picture, are the owners of Chelsea, and they've resisted that idea and been quite vocal about it, and here they are potentially having their manager taken. I happen to like Liam Rosenior very much. I watched him when he was down at Hull, had a long conversation with him, with the Tuni Lakali in the boardroom, liked him a lot, felt that he cut his teeth there, but it was unfair, I felt a little bit unjustly booted out the door. I think it was a style of play issue. Liam would have a different view on the fact that he had the players that can play a certain way, and he's gone to Strasbourg. Now, Strasbourg are a side that's got history. Arsene Wenger was their academy director, or the curator of their academy in the early 80s. They're a side that's promoted 5 or 6 years ago, finishing 6th 4 seasons ago, but prior to Liam Rosenior coming there, sort of mid-table. He's now catapulted them, if you want to say catapulted, the 7th last season and the 7th this season, so he's doing a decent job. Does it look like they've looked at somebody that they think is a manager that's got a lot of talent and they're going to prepare to develop with him in a somewhat similar way they did with Maresca? Maresca is not an established football manager. He's an established coach that went to Leicester, got given an opportunity there, then got a wonderful opportunity at Chelsea. So it seems to be that there's a model there. Does it look like... We've seen Chelsea over the years, Abramovich comes in, brings in big-name managers, buys successes, then defines the success levels, and then bins a manager even when they are successful and moves on to the next level. So the tried and trusted principle of Chelsea is to get top managers. This group of ownership have gone for a different management style. They've gone for a different perspective. They've gone for initially Graham Potter, that they thought was their way forward because he's a young, manageable coach that will perhaps grow with them and everyone can learn together and earn together. Then to Pochettino, and Pochettino had a fallout with Pochettino. Then back into Frank Lampard or whatever else it was prior to Pochettino coming in. And then into this Maresca situation, and then to Liam Rosenior. Orthodoxy tells you that it doesn't look like an appointment that's destined to have instantaneous success because he doesn't have the toolkit, he doesn't have the knowledge, he doesn't have the wherewithal to deal with big players. But they haven't got a dressing room with big players. They've got a dressing room with players that could potentially be big players.
If Strasbourg weren't part of the Blue Coat multi-club ownership model, would Liam even be in consideration?
But then would they have the visibility of his management techniques, his management style, his ability to grow, because they can see it firsthand? They're seeing him firsthand say, that's a young coach that we really think we can groom into being a successful manager because we've seen him firsthand in an environment we already own.
It's a club relationship, Jim, 100%. But that doesn't detract from Liam Rosenior. He will see this as an incredible opportunity, but he's only getting the job because of the link that he has. And the regime now is kind of like, okay, let's bring a young manager. Maresca, by the way, hadn't had an awful lot of games himself. Okay, he got the promotion at Leicester, but if you looked at the number of games that he'd managed, it was less than Rosenior is coming in on. Rosenior is like 159 now, games that he's managed. You cannot believe, I mean, when you see, it was a who's who of managers in the past, but that's all changed. Yeah. And he's getting an opportunity here that he ordinarily wouldn't have got. He has to just take the opportunity.
But he's only getting, and I know you make the point, of course it's evident that the only reason they're going to Liam Rosenior is because he's in a framework that exists, but also his performance within the confines of that framework. If his performance at Strasbourg had stank, then he wouldn't be getting this opportunity. So it's a double-edged...
100%. But it's different levels, isn't it? He's managing the Championship and now Ligue 1.
Correct. So
and as you rightly say, he hasn't stunk the place out. But does he now rightly take his place?
No, of course not.
As front runner for the Chelsea job?
Of course not. He's been afforded an opportunity because he's in a privileged situation, which might make him a very wise young man that took the job at Strasbourg in the first place. Who knows?
And look what he's inheriting. Look what he's inheriting as well. By the way, look what they did yesterday to Man City. This is a group of players. Reece James, you Delap coming off the bench. There's a decent group there that he can work with and get something from them.
Well, certainly, Rosenior said to be in talks at this moment. It's my understanding that Liam Rosenior is said to be calm, but also very excited about the talk of him taking over at Chelsea. At the weekend, after Strasbourg played Nice, Liam somewhat played it down.
I haven't discussed anything at this point. I know that they're looking for a manager. Obviously, it's our sister club. Other than that, I really want to focus on this club because, Gary, this club has given me so much. So many good memories, so many good times. The players, the fans, it's a great city. I don't think it's respectful to talk about anything else straight after a game that we've drawn. Like I said before, if something happens, it happens. At the moment, nothing's happened.
Liam Rosenior, Chelsea head coach, sounds nice, doesn't it?
Liam Rosenior, Strasbourg manager, sounds nice as well. I know that there's lots of speculation. I'd have to be an alien not to know.
Just the final one from me. Obviously, you've got some time off. I imagine, as discussed, no game now for a week. Could we see you at the Etihad on Sunday night from the stands watching Chelsea?
There's no plans to be there.
Craven Cottage on Wednesday?
There's no plans to be there.
The Valley next weekend?
Who knows?
The Arsenal semi-final in 10 days?
Who knows?
Yeah, we get the message. The questioner was relentless there, was he not? But Liam Senior reportedly in talks with Chelsea at this time. Simon, if Chelsea under Abramovich, and you mentioned it, was a ruthless winning machine, what is Chelsea under Blueco? I mean, is there a limit to the success that this model can bring, even though they are Club World Cup champions?
I don't know what the model is. I mean, I would assume the model is to build a successful football team and to be successful in doing that.
It's mostly young players, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
On long-term contracts.
Simon, it's a model that has 5 sporting directors. 5.
Yeah, I mean, people make the observation that they don't like to be given directions from previous sporting directors that were responsible for recruiting players at Brighton. Yet you bought half the players from Brighton yourself, so make sense of that observation if you want. Look, I mean, people were offended by how much money Chelsea spent when they first entered the door. I never understood that logic. Why are people offended on behalf of someone else who's not offended themselves?
I don't remember people being offended.
They were outraged by what Chelsea was spending. He was outraged. People were outraged. Look at the amount of money they're spending. It's absolute decadence. It's absolutely inappropriate to spend the kind of money that they're spending.
But that's a big part of the Chelsea story.
But what I'm saying is, I never understood why people were offended about what other people are spending. If Chelsea weren't offended themselves, why do people have to be offended on behalf of them? They wanted to buy players. They wanted to spend the money they wanted to spend. They're not foolish people. They're successful businessmen that knew what they were doing. They bought a club for £2.5 billion. They bought it for a reason. Whether they're doing a good job with it is a different matter. But they're going about it a different way. Some would say that, you know, Roman Abramovich's way of managing the football club was bloody awful as well. Look at the chaos he's left them in. He's left them in a situation where he's got sanctioned boot.
Yeah, but financial fair play. When he came in,
behaviour.
Simon, financial fair play wasn't in position, was it? When Abramovich first came in, so he could pretty much do what he wanted financially. Whereas obviously there was
to some extent, yeah.
This lot.
Well, they did.
Have just spent crazy monies.
So did he.
Yeah, but he wasn't going to. There was no jeopardy for him, was there? There's a jeopardy now, of course, for financial fair play.
But they managed their way through it. Everyone said to me, including Stephen Borst in the studio, they will get caught by PSR. They haven't been.
No.
But whether you like it or not, they sold hotels, they sold women's football teams. They did what they needed to do to overcome things. Abramovich spent, comparatively speaking, the same amount of money. Factoring inflation, nobody was out. Well, they were actually, because your former chairman was going, they were parking tanks on people's lawns, firing £50 notes across the Thames.
Well, they were.
Okay, Liam Rosenior said to be here and in talks with Chelsea. He's said to be calm but very excited at the prospect of taking over from Maresca, should that happen. But if it does happen, is it an appointment of ambition or an appointment of convenience? Chelsea fans, what are you thinking this morning? Amarim's out United. You're not much bothered about that. But who's next at your club, Chelsea? 03717 223344. Liam Rosenior, you having him? After Christmas and New Year, we're back. My God, with a bang. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Arsenal invincible Martin Keown in our midst this morning. And of course, Arsenal fans will get Martin's take on where you have got to now. Last weekend, Arsenal were 2 points clear of Manchester City and 3 clear of Villa. But a week on, and the Gunners hold a 6-point gap on both. Music to Martin's ears, no doubt. But what's going on at Chelsea? Maresca's gone. It appears that Liam Rosenior, now the front runner to take over there. And as we came on air this morning, Ruben Amorim sacked at Manchester United. Darren Fletcher in interim charge. Next up for them, Wednesday, Burnley. It's live in talkSPORT. And of course, Darren Fletcher will be in charge on an interim basis of Manchester United, the club that he used to play for. I'm getting various bits and pieces of information from a variety of sources on Ruben Amorim. I'm being told that Amorim wasn't surprised by what has happened today. He could see it coming. It's my understanding he's back with his family now, presumably in Portugal, and will probably go away for a few days. It's important, as I understand, coming out of the Amorim camp this morning, it's important to stress that it's important to block out any noise. He will, in future, be sticking to his principles, and he hopes to resume his career very soon. So, Simon, you've got to admire somebody that sticks by his principles. He's going to do exactly that. Says it wasn't particularly surprised about getting the boot, but the boot he has been given.
I mean, you know what happens to your principles when you die? They die with you. I mean, the bottom line is the Groucho Marx set of principles, isn't it? If you don't like a set of principles, I've got another set. The fact is that if he knew it was coming, that it's not based upon what he said yesterday, is it? That was just the hundreds of thousands on top. It was based upon something else. It was based upon what, like Martin was alluding to, the performance of the side. There are results in there. If you look at the results that Man United have got, they've got an endless array of draws. And if he is alluding to the fact through the various sources that he is able to brief into that he wasn't surprised by it, then all he did was get his own version of events out for the press conference, knowing that he'd get sacked.
I do think, though, Jim, that he's a decent man, and that was something Jim Ratcliffe was at pains to say, an honourable man, and I think he will come back from this, and I think he'll learn a great deal. He has been a little bit too loose in the press conferences. You cannot say this is the worst Manchester United team of all time. He's giving a leg up to the opposition. He's scored a lot of own goals, by the way, on this journey. This failure to not want to be fluid in his system and change his system and work with the players he's got has ultimately cost him his job. So,
you say he'll come back from it, Martin. Come back from what has pretty much been a disastrous spell in charge.
Yeah, but he'll get other opportunities. We know that he'll get other opportunities.
Not in the Premier League.
Sure. I don't know whether he's a decent man. What's the basis of a decent man running around in the Premier League?
He's honest. I think he's honest.
Again, what's your basis for that? You know, the fact is that he's
been too honest.
Well, he ran into England last year whilst as Sporting Lisbon manager, auditioning himself for jobs. He's left Sporting Lisbon when it suited him. It might not be ideally when he wanted to leave, but he still left for Man United. There's no evidence that he's a decent man. He's a football manager. And and what we've got now is a football manager that hasn't done a great job at Man United, but seems to have been given an almost enormous amount of latitude by the Man United fans, who aren't calling it out like we're calling it out, because they'd rather blame everybody else and say, well, we're not going to go after the manager, we're not going to go after the players.
That's because they're on a journey.
Go after the owners.
They're on a journey of their 10 managers since Ferguson, aren't they? So they're like, this was the one. They were like, okay, let's give him time.
He's the worst of the lot.
Well, yes, potentially was, but they thought they've had enough. They want to be seen to be...
Isn't it ridiculous?
Well, it is. So the irony of it all, yeah.
It's ridiculous. He is the worst of the lot. And what he said in press conferences, and we've all been sitting there must be some wisdom here. There must be something that we all can't see, that he can see, and eventually we're all going to be made to look like fools.
So you think he was worst of the lot?
Well, he can't not be. His record is.
So it wasn't all that bad under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, was it?
Well, the worst of the lot? No, probably not. But what are you going to do? Race to the bottom? He's the best of a bad bunch. That wasn't the objective of my observations on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And when I talked about Ruben Amorim, I have been critical at the same time as tried to not be endlessly the doomsday merchant in the room.
So was so Jim Ratcliffe then, was he really naive to persist with him as long as he did?
Well, how long did he...
You say he's the worst of the bunch?
Yeah.
Of a bad bunch.
I mean, we all said, didn't we, if he doesn't start this season properly and get Man United going, we can't see him lasting that long. So here we are. We're in December. The manager is January now. When the manager is telling us through back channels that he saw this coming. So this has not been something they were patronising. They were moving towards it. They were getting less and less. They were getting more and more towards the territory. We said at the beginning of the season, if we don't start well, I mean, he was absurd at Grimsby. The performance against Grimsby and the manager's refusal to look at penalties being taken by his team is an absurd way to manage.
Of course,
they're quirky idiosyncrasy.
Well, and rumours. What's his level, Simon? Martin says he'll be back. Back where?
Well, we've seen his level. He did a wonderful job in Portugal. That's a wonderful level that he got.
Yeah, but I think we should give him, another chance.
Who's going to give him
along the way, Jim?
Man, it's been a disaster.
Yes, but listen, Man United tried desperately hard to try to keep the guy in the job.
He won't get another job in the Premier League until he does another job in the interim.
There were rumours, Jim, that
Emery went away.
There were rumours all of last season that he was offering to resign. They were trying to push him into doing the job last year, and now they couldn't wait to sack him.
And while we talk about Amorim, who is no longer manager of or head coach, he wanted to be manager. He's no longer at Manchester United. He was sacked. Chelsea, in the meantime, said to be interviewing Liam Rosenior. So does he take over from Enzo Maresca? Matt's a Chelsea fan. Matt, good morning. Amidst all this, where is your head? Are you having Liam Rosenior?
Yeah, hi there, guys. Great show as always. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually quite excited about Rosenior coming in. I think I was of the impression anyone but Maresca, really, towards the end. I think he was getting a lot of the managerial basics wrong. I've never gone into a game before not knowing who my centre-back pairing is going to be. And it seemed to be every week that was changing and changing and changing. Substitutions were baffling.
But Matt, not that long ago, you were title challengers. You'd beaten Barcelona. Before that, you became club world champions. You weren't having Maresca.
No, I mean, I think that, the odd result that he pulled out was good. Barcelona being one, PSG in the final.
The odd result? I think that's a bit harsh.
He
was manager of the month, wasn't he, just 7 or 8 games ago? Maresca.
He was, but I think, if you're looking at individual results in that squad, if you're going to praise him for the PSG final, then you've also got to criticise him for Qarabag away and Brighton at home and Crystal Palace first game of the season. Like, there's so many performances that just haven't been good enough. And I think that's, that squad is good enough to do a lot better than it has been doing. I think if you look at individual results, they've been poor. So for a new manager to come in and start trying to get the basics right, making the substitutions that the fans want to see, I think... let's see it happen.
Matt, are you not worried? Are you not worried in any way when you look at your CV, this new manager coming in, and the amount of trophies previous managers have won is quite remarkable? Are you quite happy just for an interim manager? Because it has to be, doesn't it? Unless he wins every game between now and the end of the season, this has to be an interim management role.
Well, it's a fair point, and I think we've got a history, of course, of bringing in the big names, as Simon said earlier. So it's different for us, but as fans, we have to adapt, right? I think the owners have got a plan in place. I think their plan is to, within the next 3-4 years, be dominating football with a team of players that have been together for a number of years. You look at Caicedo, he's probably the best holding midfielder in the world. We've got Reece James, the best right back in the world. So there's a team forming, and I think they're adopting a different plan. So we're just going to have to back the manager 100% and see where this goes.
Before you leave us, Matt, and thanks for joining us. Sure. If Liam gets it, and it's looking like he's going to get it, would it be an appointment of ambition or an appointment of convenience?
I think the cynic would say the convenient side, but I think why not try your hand at a young British manager? Every manager has been given that step up at some stage in their career. He speaks very well, so let's see what he can do.
Nice one, Matt. Thank you very much indeed. Chelsea said to be in talks with Liam Rosenior. Darren Fletcher, meantime, takes over on an interim basis at Manchester United following the earlier sacking this morning of Ruben Amorim. 11:30, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
It's not often you associate fan power with Chelsea Football Club, but one of the shining examples of it lies with a group called the Chelsea Pitch Owners. And they've proved to be the thorn in the side of owners past and present who've been dead set on moving stadiums to a larger, more lucrative piece of land. Essentially, the supporters group holds the freehold to the land on which Stamford Bridge sits. Former owner Ken Bates set it up at a time where some unruly property developers tried to evict the club from their ground. In order to prevent this, he established the CPO as a company that owned the pitch and offered the fans the chance to buy a share for £100. As well as that, they also own the rights to the name Chelsea Football Club, so if any owner wants to take them elsewhere, they can't be called Chelsea without the approval from the CPO. Now, in 2011, Roman Abramovich tried and failed to move them away from Stamford Bridge, and this has set a precedent for Todd Bowley and the current power brokers at Chelsea. They know any plan which involves moving from Stamford Bridge will require CPO approval from the now 13,000 fans who own it. There are fans who are concerned that if they stay at the bridge, they'll be left behind their domestic and European rivals who are moving to more commercially successful stadiums. But for the heritage and history lovers, Stamford Bridge is one of the iconic English stadiums, and to move away would be a grave mistake. It might not be as flashy as others, but stadiums like it have something about them that cannot be replaced. One thing's for sure, if Bowley wants to take Chelsea away from their home, he'll have to go through the CPO first.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
It's that time. We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM, and we're going to look at the odds round and about some of the big stories. And my God, we don't have to hunt very far for the big stories, do we not? Simon's alongside Martin Keown and myself in studio this morning. Matt Gibson, good morning to you. Happy New Year. Welcome back. Amorim has gone, Matt. What about the odds for the next manager at United?
Yeah, Happy New Year, fellas. I didn't see this one coming. The performance yesterday, I was at Ellen Road yesterday. The performance was so-so, but the comments afterwards were kind of weird, weren't they? Early runners and riders, Enzo Maresca, top of our market at 2s. Darren Fletcher, Oliver Glasner at 5s. Gareth Southgate's in there at around about 10s. Just looking at guys who are out of work, fellas. Javi Hernandez, ex-Barcelona player and manager. Zinedine Zidane at 16s. Carlo Ancelotti's in there at about 30 odds to 33 to 1. I know he's got the Brazil job, but I think that's a match made in heaven, isn't it? Don Carlo and Man United to go and sort it out. There's so many names in here, fellas. I know they're appointing Darren Fletcher on an interim basis. The odds I've just given are for the permanent post. I don't know, guys. Early runners and riders. Who do you think is a decent suitor for that job?
You'll probably say Southgate, won't you?
Well, Simon, the name I would have thought you will say, and he hasn't signed a new deal at Crystal Palace, is Oliver Glasner.
Yeah. I think the challenge for that appointment is that I don't know whether this job is too big for Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner is a very, very good manager and has done wonderful things at Palace, and I advocated for him, irrespective of the fact he manages my old team, with Daniel during the summer before he took Thomas Frank. Look, the fact is that whoever takes this job, it has evaded lots of managers in terms of their ability to be able to achieve something. And this is a big club that's not, in my view, being run particularly well for a variety of reasons. One of them is that they've got a disenfranchised fan base away from its ownership model that has no faith in the ownership model and now has no faith in the majority shareholder that's been put in to help make the football operation better. So whoever you put in there's got a challenge, but it needs to be a manager that knows what running a big football club is like.
You were talking about Emery, weren't you, earlier? And if they're not doing anything,
I'm not advocating for Emery leaving Villa.
No, but if
you
they're
asked me
doing
a question, who would I like? Who would I think could manage Man United?
And
I think
the talk
Emery has the chops, but he's got a 3-year contract at Villa. There's no indication he can get out of that contract. But everyone's gettable. Everything is achievable if people are prepared to put the right amount of money on the table.
And they're pointing towards the summer as well. Darren Fletcher's going to be...
Yeah.
I mean, you need a certain type of manager to go in there and be able to get around the background noise. It's interesting that Amorim talked about people that are listening to Gary Neville's of the world, as if that was something that was pervading the backdrop of Manchester United and behind the scenes, in terms of people didn't have the courage to push back against the endless criticisms from those that used to play Man United that have got big voices now. That seemed to be a point he's making. But that is the uniqueness of Man United. It's a unique space. It has seen off Mourinho, it's seen off Louis van Gaal, it's seen off a bunch of big-name managers, and some of them for a timing issue. And if you look back on the Mourinho period, as dark as it was, it looks like a bloody relative success now.
But, I mean, how much attention, honestly, and Matt, I'm coming back to you, how much attention, Simon, honestly, would the Manchester United hierarchy be paying to anything that Gary Neville says? Or any pundit says? When you have got...
Well, it depends if you get...
When you've got a board of directors there who are said to be elite, who are said to know what...
the last manager has alluded to the fact that they are taking too much notice.
Answer your own question. Why did Jim Ratcliffe do an interview with Gary Neville?
Oh, he's done a variety of interviews,
but he chose Gary Neville.
He's avoided us because he knows he'll come up against you.
Sure.
Well, he was included in the development programme for the new stadium, wasn't he?
So they do listen to those noises, and those background noises create a reaction and an optics and a feel amongst the Man United fan base that might concur with it or agree with or disagree with it in equal measure. The fact is that Ratcliffe and his guys, and you've listed, and you quite rightly did so, look at the appointments that they've made over a period of time and look at the decisions that they brought into play. Ten Hag was an absurd decision. Not only did they have the right to look at him because it wasn't their appointment, not only did they look at him, they gave him a new contract. And then they fired him 4 months later, which everybody knew they were going to do. They pursued Dan Ashwood and made a Horlicks of that by getting him out of Newcastle, indicating to the world that Newcastle should just let him go because Man United want him to. And it's upon Man United's right to take what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they had to pay compensation. And they got rid of him because he wasn't a fit. So it feels like they're learning a lot of lessons that they shouldn't really need to learn because they've got football expertise.
Should they?
Matt Gibson, I promise you, I'm coming back to you, Matt. Before I leave it, and Simon, one or two people asked me to ask you, in the process of the sacking of Amorim, what was the Glazers' involvement in the decision?
Who knows?
Do they know yet?
Who knows? I mean, I'm sure they do know. I'm sure they do know. But you were told a moment ago by someone else that was telling us the process that this was a football leadership decision supported by the board. So football leadership means Omar Barada. He's the chief executive.
What does he do? Call one of the Glazers and say, look, we're going to do this.
I've appointed him. I'm firing him. This is not working. This guy's not working. He's not working on the field. He's not working off the field. There is a disconnect. The management structure that we put in place, that we've all sanctioned, that we've agreed is the right way to go forward, right now doesn't look very good. It's getting panned by everybody, but we still believe in it. And the guy that doesn't believe in it is a manager, so he's got to go.
So would Barada have to phone one of the Glazers to be able to press the sack button?
Depends upon his manager.
They're all complicit, aren't they?
Depends how they're structured. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. Matt, let's get back to you, my friend. And it was your Leeds United who Manchester United were playing at the weekend. It ended 1 apiece. Shall we concentrate on the bottom end of the Premier League table, though?
Yeah, we can have a look at the bottom end. That's looking a little bit better after Christmas. If you're looking at it through my eyes, starting at the very, very bottom, Simon did say Wolves will win a game. If you were looking at who to target, it was probably West Ham at home on the form guide. So yeah, Wolves getting off the mark, which is
I wasn't saying I wanted them to win a game, by the way.
You said you thought they would at some point.
I did, yeah, but not that I wanted them to.
But they are still, they're still dead certs to go down 1 to 100.
Improving though, Matt, aren't they? They are improving, Matt.
Yeah, and I like
they
got an 18-year-old lad, Mane, in the midfield.
Did really well, didn't he?
He played really well against Arsenal. He played really well against Liverpool. I think he was involved in it. I think he scored and maybe a couple of assists in the West Ham game. So there are maybe some green shoots coming through for Wolves. They will still go down, but I think it does matter how you drop to the Championship. And then, you know, Burnley, we again think Burnley are kind of destined for the drop as well. 1-40 to go down. West Ham 3-10 for the drop. West Ham are the same price to get relegated as Arsenal are to win the league. So if you think Arsenal are nailed on for the league title, they are exactly the same price as West Ham to go down. Forest have had a tricky Christmas, only one win on the board across the festive period. They're at 4s. That could all change tomorrow, though, Jim. They've got a massive one against West Ham, and you know, Leeds are sort of drawing on together, aren't we? A lot of draws at a rare win over Christmas, and you know, we're sort of drifting out to Matt, around the 8-1 mark for relegation, which is great.
Does it look as if this is the bottom 3 now? West Ham, Burnley, Wolverhampton. I'm just looking at West Ham. They've only managed 8 victories in a calendar year. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the purely from an odds bookmaking point of view, Martin, West Ham at 3-10, then there's a massive jump to Forest at 4-1. Again, if West Ham manage to beat Forest tomorrow,
it's huge.
Those prices will go all over the shop. But
yeah,
looking at the teams, you'd say Forest should be too good for them, right?
Matt, very briefly, we have the Ashes, Australia 218 runs behind on day 2. Where are you taking us with that? And the BetMGM Premier League darts lineup, that's announced later, right?
Yeah, I'll try and race through both of those for you, Jim. Me and Simon, we copped a little bit of stick off you, didn't we? Because we were saying that England might go to Melbourne and win. They might do all right at the MCG, and it does matter how you lose. They won at the G, and this one has gone past 2 days at Sydney, which is a rare.
No, you're both right. They did win when it doesn't matter.
Australia fans in this one, I think England were maybe 50 odd runs too short in the first innings, even though Joe Root and Harry Brook were essentially carrying the team. I think they probably needed 450 to be competitive on this deck. Australia are big fabs, 4-11. Could be a draw, Jim. This, I think, if there's some weather and they got hauled off on day 1, they missed 40 overs on day 1 because of light and weather. The draw's at 6-1, which may happen. England outsiders at 17-4, and then I mean the Christmas was excellent for the darts, wasn't it? There's some outstanding games and Luke Littler sort of dominating the world, and luckily darts fans don't have too long to wait until the BetMGM Premier League is back in session. We're about a month away. We know both Lukes and both Dutchmen, Littler, Humphreys, Van Veen, Van Gerwen, they will be there. There's 4 more announced in that lineup today, and then it's a 17-night roadshow across UK and Europe for the Premier League. So darts fans do not have long to wait before darts is back on the screens again.
Matt, thank you very much indeed. We will talk more darts after this, but that was Matt Gibson from BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Monday morning, just a few minutes left of it, but what a morning it's been, has it not? Manchester United sacking Ruben Amorim as we came on air at 10 o'clock. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live in talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. I, like so many others, either listened to or was glued to the darts from Ali Pali over the weekend. And of course, what did we see? We saw Luke Littler in the final, thrashing Gian Van Veen 7-1 to win the PDC World Championship for the second year running. The 18-year-old Englishman becomes just the fourth player to win the title back-to-back years, joining Phil Taylor, Adrian Lewis, Gary Anderson in the process. This was Luke after the win.
It's a habit, but it's definitely a good one. Picking up trophies, it's all I've ever wanted to do in the sport. But yeah, tonight's very special. Going back to back, the first time anyone's done it for 10 years since the great Gary Anderson. And yeah, I'm added to the list of people to go back to back.
So it is a phenomenon, not just the sensation of what goes on inside the Ali Pali arena, but the number of people who watch it, who listen to it. It really is incredible. And Luke Littler came out on top again. The chief exec of the PDC is Matt Porter, who joins us live. Matt, good morning. As I say, what's left of it. What about Luke Littler? How long can he dominate at this level, do you think, Matt?
Well, that's the big question everyone's asking now, Jim, isn't it? I mean, what Luke's done over the last couple of years since coming onto the pro scene has been absolutely remarkable and unprecedented for someone of his age. So, you know, people are looking at it and saying, can he go on and emulate Phil Taylor, 16 world titles? I guess his next target is Michael van Gerwen's 3, then Raymond van Barneveld's 5. But in all honesty, the way he's playing now and the age that he's at, you know, you couldn't rule out him at least getting into double figures, could you?
You could not. You're right, Matt. Simon, he's burst onto the scene, which prompts the question, does every minority sport, I mean, darts is up there, but it's not boxing, I suppose. It's not football, which is a dominant sport. Does every sport, minority or not, need a Luke Littler?
Well, I think he's a wonderful phenomenon. It's a remarkable sport. I mean, if you look at the development of Matchroom and their opportunities, one of the biggest opportunities has been darts. If you look at one of our friends that I think has bought a percentage of Matchroom predominantly because of the darts and the opportunity that the darts evolves around the world. I mean, he's a phenomenal talent. He's 18 years of age. I mean, we saw Michael van Gerwen break onto the scene when he was in his early 20s, and he was considered to be very young and very, very dynamic and very exciting. This is a whole different end of the spectrum. I would like him to see him look a little bit fitter and less like the Pillsbury Doughboy, but that's a different discussion.
That doesn't matter. Does it matter, Matt, what he looks like?
You know what? It's funny. When I was thinking about this interview a few minutes ago, I thought the first thing Simon Jordan's going to do is make some sort of jibe, and he's lived up to expectations. So well done, Simon.
Well, I'm pleased to have met your expectations.
He throws darts, doesn't he?
The fact that you got a young boy as a poster boy and you'd like to see him look a little bit healthier. As a parent, I assume you are a parent, because I'm a parent. I would like my son to be as healthy as he possibly can be. What I did do was give him a load of praise. So I'm sorry you thought it was a jibe. I thought it was a fair observation.
I mean, look, you know, Luke's an 18-year-old boy, and a lot of 18-year-olds go through issues with their body development, don't they? He's still maturing. He's still coming to terms with his life in the spotlight and his life as a very rich young man. So it's up to him which path he chooses to take as he progresses. But I think the main thing to focus on at the moment is the talent that he's got and the profile that he's brought to the
Matt,
sport.
I don't care what he looks like. He's an incredible darts player. You know, it's like, okay, we had Ronnie O'Sullivan in snooker. Darts is a phenomenon, isn't it? In terms of watching it, people, you know, everyone can play it. Obviously, I think he's quite magnificent, Simon.
As a darts player, I think it's phenomenal. Not seen like him, have you?
Well, on that, Matt, has the rise of the sport even surpassed your expectations?
Yeah, I think, you know, darts has been on an upward trajectory for a couple of decades now, certainly at least 12 to 15 years. And then what we've seen since COVID is a real step change in terms of growth. You know, whilst everyone was locked up at home, one of the things that the country started doing, and actually all around the world, people started playing darts. You know, so we've seen a huge amount of growth since that period. We were pretty much the first professional sport back up to full speed during and after COVID, because of the nature of the sport enabled it to be played in that manner. So it was quite fortuitous in that respect. But then since Luke's, you know, emergence in the last 2 years, it's taken on another leap, because he's brought an audience to us that we haven't previously had, you know, a digital first, a social media first audience, people who consume their news in that way and are, you know, obsessed with celebrity and you know, enjoy the world of clickbait that Luke can deliver.
Could a Luke Littler dominance be a bad thing for the sport, though, as well, Matt? You want to see others coming through?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. You know, when I look at when I started working on darts in the sort of early to mid 2000s, Phil Taylor was the dominant force, and it was very much the case that if, you know, Phil turned up and got through his first round match at an event, we knew he was pretty much going to win it.
But Matt,
And that was good in respect of Phil. Phil sort of transcended darts. Phil became, you know, the name that people who didn't follow darts were aware of. But now the sport's in a different place, and there's a lot more strength in depth. So I think, you know, what you'll see at the moment is a huge chasing pack. Behind Luke Littler, there are, you know, at least a dozen other players who would fancy their chances of winning an event if he wasn't in it. So the challenge for them is, can they raise their game that 5%, or make sure that they're on their A game when he drops off 5%, and keep it competitive? Because clearly you want a star, you want a flag waver, but you don't want it to become repetitive and predictable.
But Matt, doesn't a young star secure the future of darts? Because this would inspire young kids, wouldn't it, to pick up their darts and feel that they could do the same?
I mean, it already is doing. As you saw his opponent in the world final, Jan van Veen, is 23 years old. You know, the world final had a combined age of 41, which is probably with the age profile of our players from 10 years ago as an individual. So the sport is becoming, you know, more and more popular amongst young people. I think there's something like 8,000 registered players with the Junior Darts Corporation in this country, and they've got over 200 registered academies around the world. So people are picking up darts at a younger age. Boys and girls can play against each other, which I think is a massive asset for the sport. And you're just going to see more and more kids coming through, first of all, the academy system, and then into our development tour for 16 to 23-year-olds and onto the pro circuit.
Finally, from me, Matt, is Luke Littler already at 18 a British sporting great? And if so, what are the ingredients that go into making a British sporting great?
I don't know if you become a great after 2 years. I think you maybe need, you know, a little bit more than that. You know, he's not a fad. If he was a fad, he'd be 6 months or 12 months, but he's kind of in that in-between phase, isn't he? I think if he can sustain what he's doing now for the next 3 to 5 years and beyond that, then certainly he'll be spoken of in that light. But he's got to show the longevity. He's got to show, you know, the dedication, the right attitude that he's doing at the moment for a longer period of time in order to be truly considered as someone who, you know, the British public will fall in love with, not just for the duration of their career, but beyond it as well.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much indeed for what you gave us. Terrific tournament. And Luke Littler, not for the first time, came out on top, the PDC World Champion for the second year running. It's 12 noon.
Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines just after midday, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. Ruben Amorim has been sacked as Manchester United head coach. He launched into a rant about his job role after a 1-1 draw away to Leeds yesterday.
I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. And that is clear. I know that my name is not Tuchel, is not Conte, is not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United.
Less than 24 hours later, he's out of a job and Manchester United are out of a boss. Former assistant coach Ronnie Mullenstein has told talkSPORT that you could see from his body language that things weren't right.
Came across a little bit agitated, not happy about certain things, whereas managers who are happy in their situations, they come always out speaking very, very calmly.
In a statement, the club says it was for footballing reasons, with the club 6th and booted out of the Carabao Cup by Grimsby. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crooks says from a footballing perspective, he didn't really have any excuse.
He has been backed in the transfer market. He was allowed to spend a lot of money on the likes of Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo, and Benjamin Šeško, who's yet to fire in the summer. And I would suggest the performances week in, week out are still not where they should be.
Well, it's our understanding that the club would contemplate giving interim boss Darren Fletcher the job for the rest of the season. Enzo Maresca, Oliver Glasner and Kieran McKenna are names that have been already mentioned as a replacement permanently. Fletcher will be in charge of the Burnley game on Wednesday regardless. That's live here on talkSPORT. Then we have the Manchester Derby live here on the 17th of January. For all the fallout, head to the talkSPORT YouTube channel and talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Foreign Secretary is expected to lay out the UK's views on the ousting of Venezuela's president later, and Keir Starmer says the UK will turn a corner in 2026, promising people will begin to feel the difference in their pockets. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy this winter." Book today at quickfit.com.
Many places will stay dry today with sunshine. Snow showers will continue across parts of Scotland and some coastal counties, very cold with a bitter wind chill at times.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along. It's Monday, January the 5th. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. A whole range of Premier League action for you this week, and you will not miss a thing right across the talkSPORT network. One game tomorrow night, West Ham against Nottingham Forest. That's a talkSPORT exclusive. And then a whole glut of games on Wednesday, and then one on Thursday that really stands out, of course. Martin's Arsenal up against Liverpool. That is a talkSPORT exclusive. But of course, on Wednesday, we also have at 8:15 at Turf Moor, Burnley against Manchester United. Manchester United with Darren Fletcher in the away technical area on Wednesday night, following the sacking this morning of Ruben Amorim. So, Enzo Maresca, gone, out of Chelsea. Liam Rossinier, is he next? Who's next in the long term for Manchester United now that Ruben Amorim has gone? And will 2 high-profile sackings become 3 very soon? With all due respect to the man in charge, and he hasn't been there long. Wilfred Nancy up at Celtic, in charge, of course, of Celtic, but it's gone far from right for him. And at the weekend, the unthinkable in the eyes of Celtic fans everywhere. Celtic at home in the East End of Glasgow, up against arch old firm rivals Rangers, and they lost the game by 3-1. So what next for Wilfred Nancy? Does he cling on to the job that he has been given following Brendan Rodgers quitting the football club? At the weekend there, we were treated to 7 minutes of some vintage Wilfred Nancy. This was before the game against Rangers, it should be stressed. Have a listen to this, and the 7 minutes has been pruned down to just 2.
I'm going to be a liar if I say, yeah, everything is happy. Everything is good. No, this is not the case. But I knew that before. Because this is part of my job. So that's why I'm calm regarding all the questions that you asked me. I'm not pleased to hear that people doesn't like me and so on. What I'm going to say, they have the right to say it because in terms of results, this is not what we want. But if you do your job, you can see what I do. And if you are a bit patient, I know that we cannot be patient in this job, but you're going to be able to see what I can do. Not I, my team, my players. But for the moment, this is a tornado. I knew that. If it's easy to handle that, no. But I'm ready for that. So this is my message for everyone. Fans, you guys, all the people, this is the reality. And we knew that before with the board when I came. It's totally normal that my player needs a bit of time. It's totally normal that my player could be confused at certain moments. Because it's a process. I don't like the word process because sometimes people that think that I'm going to hide behind process. But it's true. Judge me, no problem. But have a look, analyze since I'm here, all the game that we played, and analyze if we should have won the game or lose the game. Do it. Because this is your job. Do it. But I don't like to make assumptions. I am a clear guy. For the moment, I cannot talk. I shut my mouth because results will be not good enough. I shut my mouth and I take it. But I know where we are going. After that, if it's going to work or not, I don't know. But I know that we're going to do everything to do it. I'm here for that.
So that was before Celtic went out and promptly lost 3-1 to Rangers at Celtic Park. Wilfried Nancy seemingly curiously asking the questions and giving the answers at his own media conference. But when you look at it, and Simon and Martin are alongside me, before Wilfried Nancy came in, following the resignation of Brendan Rodgers, our friend Martin O'Neill went up there on an interim basis. 8 games, 7 wins, 1 defeat. In comes Nancy from Columbus Crew. 8 games, 2 wins, 6 defeats, 18 goals conceded. The last defeat, of course, was the one that the fans just can't take against Rangers in their own backyard. Simon, are the Celtic board now between a rock and a hard place with Nancy?
Well, he said in that press conference, which was a strange one, where he said he wasn't going to speak and then spent the entire time speaking about what he was going to do. He's very strong in his approach. He put up this ridiculous Venn diagram, didn't he, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, telling everyone how the world works, and then proceeded to take it down. And he's now telling the journalists how they should do their jobs, which is a recipe for disaster for him. So he's really got to win even more than he had to win previously. You don't lose League Cup finals and you don't lose to Celtic, or to Rangers, sorry, at home. These are bad challenges for him. But he talked about the idea that the board knew the challenge. And they know the challenge and they were prepared for the challenge. I don't think that anyone was prepared for him to come in and lose 6 out of the first 8 games, or expecting that to happen. They might well know that Martin O'Neill papered over the cracks. They might well know that the squad wasn't good enough. But we're not talking about an elite league here. We're talking about a 2-team league that Hearts have gate crashed into and are doing very well. And I hope they win the SPFL to liven up the old firm, maybe make them better as a result of it. Make them more honest in the fact that they've got to progress in a league that isn't just about those two. So I have never been, I didn't understand the reference point in terms of why a club of Celtic stature have gone to that league, having watched that league and spent some time over there and seeing how substandard that league was, and suggested that this was going to be a perfect fit. I hope it does work for him. I hope that people can make transitions from lesser leagues in lesser clubs into bigger football clubs and be successful. Who wants our people to be unsuccessful? But there's nothing about the appointment, from when it was made to who it was made, who they put in place, irrespective of people in America that played English football at the top level that are advocating for him. I felt that this was a strange fit. Martin O'Neill may well have caught a wave for 10 games over 5 weeks, caught a wave of winning most of them. Right? I would suggest he went in and did sensible things and got players to operate at their highest level. That might have been a difficult thing to achieve for a season, but might have got them to January transfer window, get some resources in to be able to supplement the playing squad and continue the aforementioned momentum. This fella's come in and killed the momentum. And you have to say, it wasn't dreadful with Brendan. Brendan set it on fire because Brendan is a selfish sod that was only interested in himself. and ultimately went out the door on his terms by setting people on fire. And then Dermot Desmond came in and had his say about it.
Might he feel justified now?
But the board...
What, losing their way, getting knocked out of the Champions League to a pub side?
You won't get any pleasure in seeing what's happening to Celtic. Brendan's obviously an honourable.
Well, he'll be vindicated, won't he, by the things that he got a way of saying.
Yeah, but I think this is fixable, but the board have a big decision to make. Do they go with this manager? And to be honest, I can't remember the last time they'd lost 6 from 8 games, Celtic. I mean, it's just almost unprecedented.
But
the way that they play
repeatedly.
Yeah, but I saw the game at the weekend and I saw a lot of good things in the game, but ultimately they keep losing the game. So it's a naivety. Again, it's about this fixation on a particular system the manager wants to go with. They play Hearts at the end of the month. And it's only 6 points between them and Hearts. So the decision they need to make now is, do they stick with this guy? Is he the real McCoy? Can he do it? Maybe these sackers that are taking place elsewhere, by the way, might influence them a little bit, what they've seen with Manchester United today, because a lot of people will put their cards on him, Amram. It didn't work.
The Celtic hardcore support are at boiling point.
They are. And I'm wondering,
when
is
you
it,
listen
is it
to him as
imminent?
a former player, and you listen to him, and you listen to him speak, and you listen to this, I mean, you watch Martin O'Neill. He came in, did 10 games, and he doesn't walk on water. He's just a football manager that had a group of people in front of him, and he kept it simple, stupid. And they went and won the games that they needed to win, and he steadied the ship for the incoming manager, which might have been the worst case scenario. Maybe he wanted Martin O'Neill to lose 10
And what would have been the intelligent thing to do then if you took that job of Nancy? You'd say
slowly catch him up.
Just keep Martin O'Neill not too far away. And what I'll do as well, I'll play the same system. Because they're used to that system, so there's no miscommunication.
You couldn't keep Martin O'Neill in a building, could you? Because you'd undermine the manager.
No. But from arm's length. But you could say as a manager going in there, I'll make as few changes as possible. I'll try and stick with that. If there's going to be any kind of they're getting it wrong at the moment. He's actually alluding to the fact they're getting it wrong because maybe they don't understand the system well enough. So let's keep it the same. You can't make that mistake, and you're winning games anyway.
So that means when you employ ideologues as managers, you would leave yourself as the hostage to fortune because you're an ideologue. I want to play a certain way. Have you got the players? I don't care. I want to play this way. Then that's stupid, isn't it? That's not a pragmatic, sensible manager.
Martin O'Neill, as we speak, is in Glasgow. Now, before anyone runs away with that, he's up there doing a media engagement. But they can't go back to Martin again, can they, Simon?
Oh, I think they've got to hold their nerve. If they have done what they should have done, then this is a moment in time they're going to have to bite down on the gum shield and accept it hasn't started the way they wanted it to and give the man some more resources to get him through the problems that he's got. If they haven't done their due diligence, if they haven't really gone deep into the reasons why they've appointed him, deep into the man's capabilities, superimpose what he did in the MLS over the Scottish Premier League and believe emphatically that the appointment was right, if they did that, then they've got to give him some breathing space.
I think such is their dominance in Scotland. You cannot lose to the likes of Motherwell and to Dundee.
They're second in the league.
Yeah, but
I mean, they're still second in the league.
That's the way this
they can still win the league.
If you've spent any
they can
time
still win the
there.
league.
Oh, they could do.
This is how crap it is. They can still win the league.
No, but hang on a second.
Well, they
Simon.
can. They're 6
The
points
bottom
behind.
line is Wilfred Nancy cannot come in, play day 1-2, 6 defeats, the last against Rangers.
True.
That can't happen.
But it's still second in the league.
That can't happen. So Rod Stewart's messaged me. I never wanted to get away from Celtic Park so quickly as Saturday. It was dangerous and toxic. They've got a problem here, Simon.
Of course they
have a massive problem.
But the same problem that Rangers had. The same problem that Rangers had is the fan base has gone toxic very, very quickly.
But you're saying they should hold their nerve.
I'm not saying they should hold their nerve. I'm saying if they believe that the diligence they did is absolutely right and the man is capable of doing the job, and I said the same thing about Russell Martin, if they didn't do it properly, and they did it on the back of a fag packet, which I can't believe that they would, but if they did, because it appears that the other guys did a little bit with Russell, they didn't really look at the fit properly, and I questioned it. And I'm not live with interviewing managers. I looked at it and went, I don't know about this. I don't like his press conferences. I don't think he's got the capabilities of stepping up from the MLS yet because I think the jump is too big.
Yeah.
And I don't see the fit. Why wouldn't you just stay with Martin? I know Martin O'Neill's not the future, but why wouldn't you just stay with Martin and give yourself a considered amount of time? Because there's no rush. What's the rush? Shut the noise down. Get the Celtic fan base back in line, start winning football matches, get yourself into a situation where you give yourself a bit of breathing space and get the best in class.
I'll put it out there. Are there Celtic fans listening this lunchtime who are behind Wilfred Nancy, who want Wilfred Nancy to be given more time? Give us a call, 03717 22 33 44. Play day 2 wins, 6 defeats, 18 goals conceded. But the last one was a sore one. 3-1 at home to Rangers. How much more of it can you take? 03717 223344.
$26K for 2026 on talkSPORT.
Well, talkSPORT's kicking off 2026 by giving you the chance to win a massive 26 grand. At 12 o'clock this Friday, we're calling one lucky winner, 12 noon I should add, with a guaranteed payment made that day. Yet one of you could pocket 26 grand, 26,000 for 2026. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call 0343 423 9761. Lines closed 12 noon Friday, and that's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. UK residents only, 18 plus. It's a network promotion. Full terms, conditions at talksport.com/win. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 right now, and good luck. And just a reminder, if you miss any of our shows, make sure you download the Outspoken podcast. All the best bits from White and Jordan every day in a bite-sized listen, available now to download on your favourite podcast provider. Many Celtic fans, as was the case with Manchester United many Celtic fans trying to get in touch with us this lunchtime, because I'm putting it out there. How much longer can it go on at Celtic under Wilfried Nancy? Played 8, 2 wins, 6 defeats, 18 goals conceded. But the last one was a sore one, losing at home to Rangers by 3-1. Interestingly, before we go to the phone lines, Celtic midfielder Luke McGowan spoke post-match after the Rangers game and was asked if the players are behind Nancy.
Rangers changed their shape and we didn't react well enough to it. The manager needs to put the message across. Players need to then react to it. Don't know what else to say on it, but he is a manager. So what do? Just need to be together, collectively get better and get messages all together and know what we did wrong in the second half and kind of go for there. But football's football. He's a manager. We need to do what he's implementing in the game. And in the first half we did. Second half they changed it. We didn't. That's just as simple as that. We've got no other option. We need to somehow get all together and we need to get results better. Simple as that. Especially if you come in mid-season, you're never getting time. It's about results and winning, and that's just the kind of be all and end all of it. But let's call a spade a spade. When's it ever been this bad? It's never. So you're asking fans to react to something that for the first time they're seeing it, and us as players for the first time we're feeling it.
There's Luke McGowan. I mean, Martin, amongst other things there, even he says, how's it ever got this bad? Wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement of Wilfried.
No, it's not a commendation for the manager, is it? And I mean, I watched the game myself, and I was watching the second goal, particularly that Austin Trusty he just stayed in his lane, didn't go across to deal with it. And you're thinking, well, surely in a back three or in a back four, you're going across to engage. What are the messages that are coming from the management? Jim, I do feel that he is in real grave danger right now, this manager, of losing his job, because I think the rules are a little bit different when you manage Celtic and Rangers, and they're so. I mean, he's just said it's unprecedented. They've never been in this situation before. To lose 6 from 8 games, I do feel they'll be looking over their shoulder now to try and make replacements. So maybe the next game, Jim, it comes down to the next one. I'm surprised he survived this. They did play well, though, in that game against Rangers. They had 23 shots on target. I watched some of the game. They really should be putting away Jack Buckland. That was his best game I've ever seen him play, by the way. It was an incredible performance from him. But once they made the changes in the second half, then Celtic didn't adapt. And I'm not sure that the manager is certainly not showing that he's really at the level necessary for a club of this size.
Next up for Celtic's Dundee United this weekend, who lost last time out to Tayside rivals Dundee. So they want to do something about that. But Dundee United sit mediocre position, mid-table at the moment. If he doesn't get a win, is it done? James is a big Celtic fan. James, good afternoon. Where do you stand in this strange situation, this strange appointment, which has so far, James, got you nowhere?
I just think the club as a whole is at a point where we need to make a decision where the club's going. The board have had all this money and they've never recruited for a winning position. And they've got a manager that doesn't know the ins and outs of Scottish football.
So do you think he's doomed?
I think he should be out the door. After that Old Firm, he should have been out the door.
Yeah. Okay, James, thanks. Here's Michael, big Celtic fan. Michael, what's your take on it?
Hi, Jim. Hi, Simon. Hi, Martin.
Good afternoon.
I don't know if you remember, I phoned when Martin had got the the job intern before, and I said at the time we should have gave him the permanent job. Like Simon's been saying, Simon's got it absolutely spot on as usual. No, I'm not worried about Milford's not nonsense now. I'm more worried about the people making the decisions at Celtic. There was 2,000 fans outside Celtic Football Club after that derby on Saturday. How they can still have this man in charge is beyond me. I've never seen anything like this in my whole time as a Celtic fan. This is crazy. They have to remove this guy and get Martin O'Neill back. They have to do it. No, I suspect Dermot's passed the reins on to his son, and his son, and all his wisdom, is thinking he's trying to be clever, getting this guy in. He's a bluffer. He listened to all his part about now different patterns are playing and all this carry on night. We need a world class manager. And Martin O'Neill, he might be old, but he's still a world class manager. And we can't go and get the best. We can't go get the best managers, but we can. He's that kind of in between.
So Michael, you said it. You think Nancy is a bluffer?
He's a bluffer. Come on, Jim. You've heard all this. You've heard the interviews yourself. You know yourself. You can tell he's a bluffer. We can all tell he's a bluffer.
Simon, I must say, Michael, you may as well listen to this. While we listen to Nancy, that was the very word that we were using, wasn't it? Is he bluffing here?
At this level he is, yeah. I don't think he's bluffing at the level he's operated at. I think he's operated at a level in the MLS that's obviously given him a position where people are looking at him as a coach that can make the next step. Where Celtic perhaps have gone wrong is they've assumed, now their judgment's been flawed. They did an AGM the other day where they felt they could lecture their fans, which I thought was unwise, and they stepped across the line there. They had every right to put people in their place, but not perhaps to the manner which they did. They brought in a guy and they've taken what they perceive to be an educated punt, I would assume, because it can't be anything else other than that.
Simon, if you're the owner of that football club this morning, I'm asking you. I'm asking you the question: do you think with this manager we can be champions this year? Do you honestly look
in this league?
In this league this year,
yeah.
Can we still be champions
in this league?
You think
because you look at this league now, Celtic are going for this dreadful vein of form, yet they're still second in the league.
That's right.
And so this, yes, I do believe that.
Yeah.
But but the evidence in front of me, if someone shows you what they are, believe them. Martin O'Neill showed you that with a group of players that I think people will accept are not where you want them to be as an ideal operating level for Celtic, but are good enough to get results in the Scottish Premier League. Martin showed you that can be done. I would have stayed with Martin. And I would have given him a January transfer window, bought some sensible players, won the Scottish SPFL, and used Martin O'Neill to help me recruit his successor.
So that's
what I would have done.
Looking at the games, Martin's last game was against Dundee. So were they wrong in putting him in charge against Hearts? Celtic played Hearts in their first game under this new manager. Why did they expose him to that kind of game, the owners?
I don't know. The timing of the situation is not my gift.
Well, we asked that at the time.
But the fact
he subsequently lost the next four. He lost the next four games.
Martin had there's no evidence. There was no evidence to believe that Celtic were going to fall off a cliff. Besides material changes that someone else made, most people would have assumed that keep it simple, stupid was the philosophy.
So now that that's happened, though, I'm not seeing anything in these results that make me believe that they can be champions. So you need to ask yourself that. If you want to be champions, you need to make a change. Because currently that's not going to happen.
Martin, let's take your question and put it to Jamie, Celtic fan who's waiting very patiently. Jamie, in spite of everything, are you still confident that Celtic can end up champions?
No, Jim, not at all on what I'm seeing in the past 8 games, since this man's been in charge. Not at all.
Do you think Nancy is a bluffer?
100%, Jim. Absolute blagger. Said it for the get-go. Tactician board, the Subbuteo board was out. He's just one of these new breed managers that have managed to worm their way into the game. And it's just a blag.
But Jamie, when they went 1-0 up against Rangers, did you think they've turned a corner now? Because they were raining shots, weren't they, at this Rangers goal in that first half?
They absolutely bombarded Rangers in the first half, but it gets to a point where the Rangers manager has seen this and he's adapted. So Celtic threw everything they had at in the first half. They don't have a proper number 9, which has cost them if they'd have went. But even if Celtic went 2-0 up, I don't think it would have been enough to see the game out. That's how bad Celtic are defensively at this point.
Jimmy, before you go, I know you can't speak on behalf of every Celtic fan.
Yes.
But the core support, what do you think the feeling is? I saw the unrest at the end of the game. I saw the coverage of them going round to the front of the stadium. What do you think? Where is the support with Nancy?
It's not just with Nancy, Jim. It's with the board now. The board have rested on their laurels here for the last 10 to 15 years, seeing the demise of Rangers financially. And every season,
all they do is look across the city and think, right, we just need to do a wee bit more than them to win the league and get in the Champions League, or try and qualify for the Champions League. There's no ambition whatsoever, and this appointment has been the one that's broke the Callum.
And what do you want, Jamie? Martin back in the interim again?
100%. Martin back, and then Craig Bellamy or Robbie Keane in the summer.
Bellamy or Keane. Well, there's two names. Okay, Jamie, thank you. Wilfred Nancy, undoubtedly a man under pressure.
When you think about famous F1 circuits, the likes of Silverstone, Monza, Monaco come to mind. One of these is not like the others though. Monaco is just one of a number of street circuits on the calendar, and that number's only set to rise. There's a clear difference between a traditional circuit and a street circuit. One is a purpose-built facility on private land, the other is, as it sounds, a race through the streets of a major city. Monaco is the famous example, twisting and turning through the streets of the Principality with iconic backgrounds and, let's be honest, not a lot of overtaking. But from 2026, there'll be a record 10 street circuits on the calendar. It proves that cash remains king. Each track promoter gives F1 between $20 and $60 million just for the rights to host an F1 race. And when Saudi Arabia pays upwards of $100 million, you can see why it's an attractive prospect for the sport. But is it all positive? Well, the drivers aren't that bothered. If you ask a majority of them, they'll tell you historic circuits at Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Zandvoort, they're the favourites. For the sports organisers, though, it kind of makes sense. In 2025, Monaco had a record 2.3 million strong viewership in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks later, 1.5 million tuned in. So while these races may not be rip-roaring, all-out action, thrill rides we want as race fans, people are tuning in even more. And bosses can demand even more cash.
We're in the home straight this Monday lunchtime. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live on talkSPORT. It's been quite a show, I have to say. Just before we came on air, the news came through to us that Ruben Amorim had been sacked at Manchester United. We're going to bring a bit more detail to this story in the last part today. So just after 1:15, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook will rejoin the show, and we'll bring you a bit more news on Amorim, the sacking and the circumstances around it. Alex is on standby to rejoin us, but we can't have Arsenal invincible Martin Keown in our midst without talking about Arsenal. And Martin, last weekend Arsenal were 2 points clear of City, 3 clear of Villa, but a week on and Arsenal hold a 6-point gap on both. So from 2 points to 6, has this been the biggest swing week yet in the Premier League title race?
Well, yeah, it has done. Of course it has done from a points point of view. I think Arsenal showing their strength of their squad. You know, they're able to make changes. Mourinho didn't play. Eze, Saka, Trossard sitting on the bench against Bournemouth. So, you know, that's a show of strength. Of course, Saka came from the bench eventually. I thought Declan Rice missed a very important game against Villa, and that was emphatic as well, the way they played against Villa. Villa had their chances, don't get me wrong. That was maybe a bit of an uncomfortable first half against Villa, but the second half, Arsenal went through the gears, and it wasn't maybe their best performance of the season against Bournemouth, but they are finding a way to win, and that's what you have to do to be champions.
But what are we seeing here, though, Martin? Because, you know, in the past, and Arsenal fans, Arsenal pundits hate it when the word bottling is mentioned. When it comes to Arsenal, does it feel different this time around? Is there an assuredness to them this season?
They're getting the results, Jim. That's all it's about, really. You know, like, yes, of course, the manager wants to improve things slightly in different areas. This player's not in the team right now who want to be in there. Lots of questions around Gyökeres. What type of striker is he? You know, because of his goals returned at the moment, could be better. But I think he does a lot of on-scene work for the team. He's a bit of a battering ram for Arsenal. He creates space. The first goal they scored against Bournemouth certainly cleared out an area for Declan Rice to come into. You want your centre forward though to start scoring goals.
Well, I was going to say,
of course you do.
I mean, it's so far 5 goals in 22 appearances. 2 of them are penalties.
Yeah.
What is he?
Well, as I say, I think he's a workhorse at the top of the team. They just want to get more from him. I think he's the previous game against Aston Villa, he makes 2 very good runs, instinctive runs, Jim, and he's got to try and gamble a little bit more to try and get away from people in the box. I think that's something you can do. You can't wait for the ball. You've got to kind of make your mind up to make those runs. So that's something, those relationships need to improve. Jesus, though, has come in and linked up very well as well. Havertz is another one returning. You need all of those players. It's going to be very much about the group feeling from Arsenal.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be down to one striker.
We well remember last season, though, Martin. Constant tone was Arsenal need a striker.
Yeah, but
they need someone that can put. But Arsenal's missing piece of the jigsaw, a striker. Gyökeres has proven, has he not, that was never the case.
No, so maybe you can win it without a striker because there's 6 points clear right now. There's a lot of teams that would be happy to have maybe a slight question mark with their striker if they were 6 points clear of everybody else. So, but I do think that relationship will get better, Jim. I do feel he'll improve. He needs now, though, to do that between now and the end of the season.
Is he not somebody you'd love to have played against, Gyökeres? He's right up your street, is he not?
I'm a bit old now, really, Jim, for that. Look, he competes. When Jesus came on, I didn't necessarily see him winning some of those battles against the centre-halves for Bournemouth. I didn't see a drop. And sometimes you could argue when he goes off, Arsenal are inviting pressure a little bit because maybe he does a lot of on-scene work of closing down and squeezing. So, no, I think it will come good in the end, Jim. Lots of big games ahead. Liverpool on Thursday. I thought it was interesting to see Man City. I think what's happened to Man City, they lost 2 players yesterday through injury, and that's the issue. 2 central defenders went off, and they paid the price.
But on your beloved Arsenal, and I'll ask you again, does it feel different this time around?
At the start of the season, Jim, I backed Arsenal to be champions. You've not heard me say that in the 5 years that we've worked together. I'm not moving from that stance. I was surprised to see them so far ahead come Christmas because of the away fixtures. This next month determines whether you're going to be champions or not. You need to go on a trail of wins now. And that tug of war I talk about, that rope is coming Arsenal's way.
I think Martin's right. There's a major test on Thursday.
Yeah, there was a major test against Aston Villa and they smashed them.
Yeah, we're never sure what Liverpool are going to do, but Liverpool are going to the Emirates.
They're due a big game, Liverpool.
And they're due a big game, Martin.
And that's fine, but I think we've seen from... I mean, let's be fair, Arsenal should be winning the league. We've got a league where Man City are not what they once were. Liverpool have fallen off a cliff. And their main title rivals at this moment in time, besides Man City, who aren't where they were, because we see that in results against Sunderland and we see that in results against Leeds. So they aren't where they once were, or Chelsea. And so with that in mind, it's Arsenal, for me... The Gyökeres question, okay, it might prove to be a red herring that they didn't need a centre forward. They need a centre forward in the same way any team wins league needs centre forwards to score goals. The fact he hasn't scored a goal is a failing in him, and maybe he needs to look at the reality of scoring 97 goals in 102 games in Portugal is not the same as scoring goals in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But Arsenal now are a formidable side, and so they should be. They've given a manager 6 years. They've given him £1 billion. And they've got a league now where their main competitors aren't at the level that they once were.
I just think sometimes when Arsenal are around that edge of the box and it's a bit static, you just want his movement to be slightly better and then more attuned with the players in midfield so you can get something from him, so you can get him into those channels and score one of those sort of trademark goals that he was scoring before he came to Arsenal.
Coach him then, exactly. And that's what good coaches do. They don't wave light bulbs at him, they coach him.
Of all the clubs who are at the top at the moment, Arsenal, it seems to me, are the most stable, are they not?
Yeah, because they've got a stable manager. You know, we all
what do you mean
back.
stable?
Well, look at what's going on at Chelsea.
Yeah, Liverpool's stable.
Liverpool are stable.
Yeah, why aren't they stable? They've had bad results, but they're not unstable as a football club.
Liverpool at the moment, Simon, in terms of what's going on the field, 2 steps forward, 3 back.
I think when you've got
but they're not unstable as a football
club.
Well,
they were a little bit with Salah's coming out.
Stability in terms of results.
And hammering players from
Fair
within.
Point.
You know, so that's something you
Fair
don't...
comment.
It's not
Fair
ideal.
comment.
It doesn't normally happen when there's good communication within the football
If you
club.
beat Liverpool on Thursday, is your name on it?
Massive message again. You just got to keep jumping the fences, you know? It's a bit like the Grand National, Jim. You just got...
They've got a brilliant squad
this weekend, but you just got to keep jumping.
They've got a brilliant squad. They were the 3rd highest spenders in the transfer market again this year. They are entitled to be assuming the opportunity that keeps on being suggested is theirs. We've been talking about Arsenal winning the league for 2 or 3 years. We talked about them bottling or choking 2 or 3 years ago. They choked because they didn't have the assuredness or the knowledge in the dressing room and the experience and the belief to be able to take it across the line. They now do. They have both the quality, they have the management capability in terms of its continuity, and they have the team.
So if they win it,
they deserve to win it.
And they deserve to win it. Will your attitude, Simon, be, well, you got there eventually?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be talking about winning it now, Jim. You go from game to game. I mean, look, to be honest,
why not?
I can't remember. Maybe because it's Arsenal. Every week we seem to be talking about Arsenal being champions. Look, it's unprecedented, isn't it? That we keep talking about.
It's unprecedented because you haven't won a Premier League for 20 odd years.
Yeah, but look, you just want to win the next tackle, the next header, the next match. And you go from game to game. And then what you've got an internal... Yeah, you do.
You?
And then internally...
As a manager?
Internally, I want to play ahead of you, Simon. There's no way you're playing centre-half in front of me. I'm going to be in that team. So
manager bought £250 million worth of players to win the league to forecast the end of the season. That's why he bought £250 million worth of players.
He wanted competition for places, and he needed players to get him over the line
to win the league.
And last year they didn't.
His plan was to win the league.
Yes, of course. That's always the goal. It's always the goal of a club that size.
And the stock in trade.
It's always the goal to win the league.
Of course it is.
That's why we're talking about them winning or not winning the league.
But I'm talking about the media. And which Simon now works in. It's the kind. As soon as Arsenal go top, it's Arsenal to lose. As soon as Arsenal, it's not Man City bottled it yesterday. Man City didn't bottle it yesterday, did they? But if that was Arsenal who lose a goal in the last minute, then they're bottling it.
That's your paranoia.
They lost the game.
No, not at all.
In that
just
season.
to touch the reality of how it is for Arsenal right now. But I think they can manage this. They can manage the pressure that's on them, and there is a pressure when you're top, and they seem to be enjoying it. And they're not taking a backward step.
How's the comparison between Man City bottling it in an individual game and Arsenal throwing away their opportunity against lesser opposition?
No, I'm suggesting that maybe the media, you would have said Arsenal to bottled it if Arsenal were 1-0 up with 2 minutes to go against Chelsea.
Not in an individual game. Over a period of time when Arsenal threw away the ability to win the league in that season where we called them chokers and bottlers, was because they threw it away against lesser opposition. So that's where the tag comes from. It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay in perpetuity. It was relevant to the time.
And at what point in the season is it appropriate to ask you, Mr. Keown, will Arsenal win the league?
May the 25th.
Well, let's get there. Let's wait a little bit.
Yeah. Mikel, if you're listening, for God's sake, beat Liverpool on Thursday. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Monday lunchtime. It is Jim White and it's Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live in talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade goes. Seems a long time ago now, around 10 o'clock this morning, the news came through to us that Manchester United, yep, they'd done it. They'd sacked Ruben Amorim, and then they confirmed it. Ruben Amorim has departed his role as head coach of Manchester United. With Manchester United sitting sixth in the Premier League, the club's leadership has reluctantly made the decision that it's the right time to make a change. And that change, they told us, was to say goodbye to Ruben Amorim. So what now? They play Burnley next, and that game is live in midweek, live in talkSPORT. Darren Fletcher will be in the away technical area. But we're going to get a bit more meat in the bones now, because our chief correspondent here at talkSPORT, Alex Crook, joins Simon, myself and Martin live. Alex, good afternoon to you once again. Amorim is gone. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, good afternoon again. It shows how fluid this situation is, that I don't think there's a definitive plan as far as Manchester United are concerned as yet in terms of who will be the long-term successor. We know, as you mentioned, that Darren Fletcher will be in charge, at least for that Premier League game, live on the talkSPORT network against Burnley in midweek, and probably for the FA Cup game, which is also live on talkSPORT, live and exclusive against Brighton this coming weekend. What I've been told in the last few minutes, and this is fascinating, is they haven't ruled out replacing an interim with an interim. So there is a scenario that Darren Fletcher gets these next 2 games in charge, then another interim is appointed until the end of the season before they can actually appoint Ruben Amorim's full-time successor. Now, if they go down that route, I think Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace becomes a live contender. We've seen the success that he's had at Selhurst Park, winning the FA Cup, taking Palace into Europe for the first time. And of course, he plays the same system that this Manchester United squad has been built to play under Ruben Amorim, and he's out of contract in the summer. Now, my information is that Oliver Glasner, even though he knows he's going to leave Palace, would be reluctant to do that mid-season, which might explain why Manchester United are willing to keep their powder dry and wait until the end of the season. But to contemplate hiring one interim and then replacing him with another, that seems crazy to me, especially when you look at the last time they went down the interim route with Ralph Rangnick. It was a disaster, wasn't it?
Sure thing. We'll react to that in a second. Also, Alex, can you tell us more about this reported breakdown in the relationship between Amorim and the Director of Football, Jason Wilcox?
Yeah, this is something that we floated on the talkSPORT website last night, that there had been, as you say, a real strain in the relationship between the Director of Football and the manager, partly because I think they were encouraging Ruben Amorim to be a little bit more tactically adaptable, to come away from this back three at times and revert to maybe a 4-3-3, which Wilcox certainly preferred when he was working at Manchester City. Then we know there was a meeting that took place last week to discuss the upcoming January transfer window. I'm told that Ruben Amorim was expecting some backing in this window, and he was told in that meeting in no uncertain terms, actually, we're not going to go big in this window. We're going to save it until the summer. And I think after that meeting, words were exchanged, and Jason Wilcox has reported to the hierarchy that the relationship between the two was untenable. And I think that probably explains why Ruben Amorim went all guns blazing, as he did at Ellen Road yesterday. I think he knew by that stage the writing was on the wall.
Alex, Simon and Martin with me. Simon, what do you think about that? Darren Fletcher coming in, as Alex confirmed, we knew that, and he'll be in charge against Burnley. He's interim, and then maybe another interim comes in after him.
Sure, but Darren Fletcher is just a body in the building that's sensible to go to. So he's not really being appointed. He's there to hold the fort, and maybe he'll hold the fort really well, and he'll get the opportunity to keep it for the rest of the season. But there's nothing wrong with bringing in an established football manager that's prepared to do a gig for 6 or 7 months while you look for a longer term situation. Someone like, dare I say, a Martin O'Neill wouldn't be beyond the realms of consideration, because he can manage big clubs and he could do a sensible job at Manchester United and would be pragmatic enough to be able to hold the fort whilst they go and get what they want for the longer term.
It'd be very interesting to see what system Darren Fletcher plays, because there's been an awful lot said about the 3 at the back. And if he goes in there and changes it to a 4, it almost says everything.
Of course he'll change it.
I think he will. I'm pretty sure that he will do. Alex, before you leave us, broken promises. It's alleged, not least by people close to Amorim, that promises were made and promises weren't kept. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think that goes back to conversations that people close to Amorim claim happened as recently as November, when he was told there would be funds to spend in this January transfer window. It was at that time they decided to make a serious play for Antoine Semenyo. We know that he is now bound from Bournemouth to Manchester City. And I think Amorim was under the impression that if that deal didn't go through, then those funds may be invested elsewhere. I think Manchester United and the hierarchy will push back and say, look, we're not going to buy players just for a short-term fix. We're not going to bring in players because Bruno Fernandes is injured. Mason Mount is struggling again. There are players away at AFCON. This all has to be part of a long-term process. But I think once Amorim found out that there wouldn't be reinforcements coming in January, and there was a strange story on Friday night that they'd made contact with Brighton for Carlos Baleba. Again, that's been played down to me. In fact, I spoke to Paul Barber at the Amex on Saturday, said they'd had no contact from Manchester United. Once he knew he wasn't going to get new signings, I think that was a realisation for Ruben Amorim that maybe the board weren't as invested in him as he would want them to be, and that's what he means by broken promises. You talk about winners and losers from this situation, by the way. biggest winner for me is Kobe Mainu. He will be jumping up and down with delight, assuming his injury allows him to, because I would expect him to be reintegrated into the first team fold now. And who knows, Marcus Rashford on loan at Barcelona.
Do they all come back?
Because he fell out with Ruben Amorim. Could there yet be a way back at Manchester United for Marcus Rashford?
We shall see. Alex, thanks very much indeed. Amidst all that, Martin Keown's son got married.
He did, Jim. That's how we were going to start the show, wasn't we?
Correct. Niall.
Yeah, start of a new year to the lovely Victoria. So that was just a couple of days before Christmas. So that was a lovely thing. And then so all of a sudden, there's divorces everywhere. Managers getting sacked. And, it was a very different show, wasn't it? Minutes later.
Sure was. Martin, thank you. As for you, see you tomorrow. Good to see you again, Simon. Enzo Maresca gone, but we knew that. We now know that Amorim has followed him out the Manchester United door. Wilfred Nancy hangs on. 1 o'clock.